Bonsoir tout le monde. Pour les membres du conseil, il y en a juste quelques-uns d'entre nous autres. On a eu un problème avec le Wi-Fi.
We had problem with Wi-Fi. It seemed as if they were not catching it. Just check to make sure, like on your iPad. So that's why I was one network. I had to connect to another one. Everything seems to be fine now. Now, so we're welcoming you to Tuesday, April 7th, like an Easter Tuesday, simply like we are gathering on the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people whose ancestors signed a peace and friendship treaty with the British Crown in the 1700s. Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum this evening. All except one, Councillor Cormier was absent. Number 3, declaration. Any council members who would like to declare any conflict of interest on any items on the agenda? Seeing none, well, adoption of the agenda. You have the agenda. I would need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette-Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Joël Després. All in favor saying aye. Against nay. Carried. Thank you. We did not have any minutes to be adopted for this evening. It will be at the next meeting. We didn't have any public presentation and no correspondence, but we have reports from standing and special committees. So the first one, the usual one, the monthly report for protective services. These are like statistics. So any questions? So we'll be able to forward your questions to the fire chief. So we're very used to see this report. And we had a report from the Environment Committee.
Councillor McElroy, did you want to just touch on at least kind of summarize what's there?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. I'll just highlight the upcoming actions in each of them. With regard to the climate change plan, we're expecting a response from submissions for funding, and that should happen in the coming weeks, after which a proposal will be launched for RFP. Mm-hmm. With regard to the municipal plan, the committee was recently appointed, and a round of public consultation will occur next. And the staff are preparing a white paper with regard to net zero policies on that aspect of our mandates. Thank you.
Sounds good. Question, any questions? Monsieur Paul Boudreau.
Question, yes, sir.
Thanks, Harry. Just a question in your RSP for a adaptation plan. Can I read it right that you're applying for another one? For a new one? Is that the one for the Pointe du Chien or the whole town, Harry or Eve? Or
yeah, it's the CAO can answer.
Yeah, I can respond. Ultimately, the town of Shediac does not have a plan that encompasses the whole territory of Shediac.
Okay.
The Pointe du Chien area has created their own climate change adaptation plan. As a municipality, what we're trying to do is an RFP that would encompass the entire territory.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it would take into account the work that what Pointe du Chien has, what Shediac currently has, and incorporating Skedok and the Shediac Cape areas to create a one consolidated plan. So
good.
That's the objective with the RFP.
Excellent idea. The last one that we did, I think, was 2018 or 19. Remember, Mr.
Yeah, for the old town of Shediac.
There were recommendations that would put forward. Do we have a report that any recommendations have been done? Could it be possible to have a look at what the last plan that we have?
I believe some of that was done. I can't recall offhand the details, but we can certainly brief council.
I know some of them were planting more trees, bigger pipes and all that.
Part of that was the net zero for stormwater management and then stuff in multi-residential zones and stuff. So we can certainly provide an update to council.
Thank you.
And some of the, if you permit me, Mr. Mayor, some of the challenges that currently exist is the plan only encompasses a specific area, Shediac, not the entirety. So as we look at an all-inclusive plan that includes every region, some priorities may shift, some action items might differentiate. So that's the goal of creating a one inclusive plan for the entire community.
Merci, thanks. Thank you.
Prochain point.
Next item, the CEO report, Mr. Légère. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few items I would like to share with you this evening. First, so the request for proposal for the Pascal Poirier House. We prepared the RFP of the request for proposal with a deadline of April 15, which will be in another week, but the request at a few groups, they asked us for an extension, maybe for an additional 15 days. And we saw this very positive, that might allow like a greater number of people to participate in the process. So we gave a 15-day extension until the end of April. So the new deadline for the request for proposal will be April 30th. As for the operational municipal operation support for the main South Cove, well, the tender should come out soon, and they will receive soon, if I may say this. So at the next meeting, or at the latest, like the first meeting in May, we will have the results, like to award the contract for the work on Main Street this summer. As for the rec center, the last meeting, we had the presentation from the Collier Group, and to have a feasibility study, and of course we're working on the kickoff also of this study, and we will follow like the work plan that was presented to the council. But last week, the administration had the opportunity to have a guided tour of the two YMCA in Moncton, including like the Uniplex in Dieppe, just to see like what would be like the functionality and how the infrastructures were built. But the bulk of the meeting was to have a meeting with the YMCA group, like to see if they could play a role like with the rec center. And we had very good information and several good discussion on the Y model, and of course it enlightened us how it will work if we wanted to have a partnership with the YMCA for the new rec center. As for tourism, well, if you own a boat, or if you are following like a show, like a Jeté l'Ancre, it's like a show from the province of Quebec that is broadcasted on RDS. It's like this is the Francophone TSN in New Brunswick. In this week episode, it was the Marina Pointe du Chêne that was highlighted, and there will be a second episode next week where there will be the town of Shediac will be highlighted with the Shediac Marina. So we are fortunate, like they were able to do like a story on the two marinas in Shediac. So they're doing also like a story, not only like on the marinas, but on the type also of activities happening in the community and the touristic impact. So it's really like a good show, like to watch. I was told, I think the first episode was cut short because of golf tournament. I'm sorry, but it should be broadcasted again this week. So if you had a chance, if you have that channel, like you will be able to watch it. And also we will be publishing a link, because there's a YouTube link, and we will be sending you the link so you'll be able to watch it. As for like the net zero strategy, we had mentioned there would be like a consultation session or outreach session to give some information to the citizen. One of the first strategies, it will be like an open door evening
Ouais, c'est ça. Dans la soirée des
So during the evening for our community organization, we'll have a booth to talk about the net zero strategy. And we're also looking at the participation strategy for the summer market, like each week, like the resident will be able to get like some information on the consultation strategies. A few key dates, of course, like the volunteer recognition event on evening on April 22nd and the Hall of Fame April 23rd, and the official opening of the fire station April 26th, which falls on a Sunday, and also like the registration session that I mentioned. Also, I have April 30th. Is it April 29th or 30th? It's April 30th. I might have said like the April 29th for the net zero strategy, but it's April 30th. As for the elections that are coming up, last week we had an information session for potential candidates. So there were 14 participants who attended this session, and many of you like that are running again with Craig. This session was done with Craig Pollock. Just to remind you, there's other information available if you're looking for some information. So we created a web page on our website for with key details, and there's also like a candidate guide that was created by the Association Francophone Municipalité, and also like the Municipal Union of Municipalities of Brunswick and the Association of Municipal Administrators. So these are very good guides, and if you want information, it's there. And there's also information on the Elections NB website if you need additional information. So this would conclude my report. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Questions on the CAO's report? Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You mentioned like Colliers, so because when they came, like they presented like quite late in the evening. So do we thinking maybe like to have them come back after the new council? Absolutely, like they will have a role like to be played by the new council, and the decision like one council will have to take like with the gateway as he had identified. Yes, the new council will be involved on the studies, not only the study, but all the studies that were present, that we concluded with the rec center file, because I think us as a council, maybe we were to ask all the questions we needed to, because that was a long evening, and I think like it would be nice to revisit. Yes, that's something that's being planned.
Yeah.
Councillor Patricia Bourque-Chevary. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So concerning the RFP for the Pascal Poirier House, if somebody has a project they want to go forward, do they need to get some information from the town? So where I'm going with this is just to make sure like everyone is notified. Maybe one group or two ask for an extension, but if ever like someone was working on something else. So what we are using like to communicate the RFP, we're using the same means like to notify of the new date, the new deadline. But all the individuals who showed like some kind of interest, they knew either personally from me or because it was a guided tour for a few groups. We had a discussion like during those guided tours that the deadline would be pushed like 15 days. Some already we know like it would be good to give a lot more time so they would have the opportunity like to have a greater number. I thought it was too short. Just want to make sure everybody knows.
Merci bien.
Thank you very much. So we had no recommendation from the Regional Service Commission and no unfinished business and new business, but there's always the opportunity like inquiries from council members. So 3 council members like signify in writing their question. Their first come, first serve. Councillor, you had a couple of questions.
Thank you, Mayor. The first thing I guess I would ask is, could we explain to the viewing public how to access the operational plan on our website? I understand it's been available for the last few months, but I've had some inquiries asking how
Okay.
to get to it. And apparently you need to go through the strategic plan. And within the strategic plan, click on the operational plan. Some people may go distance and then not see it displayed. And I just thought it might be helpful if we
a live demonstration.
Clerk can give a demonstration as to where it's going to be, but it's located on our website. When you click on My Town, Ma Ville. In French, you click on administration, and then you'll see 2025-2027 strategic plan. When you click that, it opens up a dedicated web page to the strategic plan. If you scroll down, you'll see there's a section to consult the actual strategic plan, which is that big red button. But on the bottom where you see operational plan, the 4 strategic pillars are there. If you click on every or each strategic pillar, it will open the operational plan with the action items as presented with council. So
wonderful.
Now everybody can know.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Pleasure.
The second thing I would ask, if you could, would be to update on the status of the storm drainage.
Stormwater
management plan.
I'll touch upon it, but I'll have the director of operations fill in the blanks if I wasn't clear. Ultimately, the storm water management plan was created to help us elaborate another plan that was required, which is the 5-year capital plan and the asset management plan. So we identified a number of different culverts that needed either upgrading, replacement, or modified to accommodate any deviation of water that needs to happen in the municipality. That plan is now integrated within the asset management plan and the 5-year capital plan. So each specific culvert were evaluated based on criticality, condition, and we tried to mirror them with other projects that were kind of planned. So if we plan to be in a specific area, we're planning to change that culvert in that area at that time rather than doing the road and not replacing the culvert another 3 years, then we have to tear it up. And so the methodology of how that was presented for renewal, it is in the asset management plan and the 5-year capital plan as when we're going to take these different initiatives. So I don't know if the director of municipal operation wants to add, or if I was rather succinct.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Yves. But to your question, Mr. McElroy, it's actually the timing is great because today, towards the end of the meeting, I'm going to present a culvert project that we're going through the engineering phase. So that is part of our storm management capital plan. So and then the next one in 2027, we have the Pointe du Chien storm upgrade that is part of our 5-year plan. So these and the one we did the culvert back last year for the multipurpose trail, these were our main 3 projects for that plan.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McElroy.
The second one was Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only 2 questions. For the Harper Street close to, will the sidewalk be installed again? Yes. I will ask how could the operational director to fill in the blanks. Like during the construction, there were not someone forgot, but the way like the fire station was designed, like with the road, we had to look at other alternatives that was not involved in the construction project. So the sidewalk is included like in 2027 to add or bring back like a sidewalk like in this section just besides like the fire station on Harper Street. And somebody asked me the question like the Casey Street, so the part from Main Street to Harper Street. Is there something like it's a big curve and people are walking? I will let like the operation directors like answer. I dug a little bit on this one because it was from last year. A study was done like for this street section was not really sustainable like for a sidewalk. So we're looking at other options like just to connect the main street with Harper Street. And there is a couple of options we have. And in 2027, we should have an option like for this side to get to Main Street. Thank you. Third question, Councillor Paul Boutreau. Thank you. A couple of questions, but thanks for the information for the center. Yves, I agree like with Janice's question. If it's possible, like if it's not possible to involve the council member, it would be a committee that would be interesting. So the project, like to connect like the biking trail with the Greater Moncton bicycle trail. So because it was done by the Service Commission, are we making progress? Yes, the file is progressing, but I do not have any update I can give you this evening. But I will take the information and do a little bit of research, and I will send the information via email. Thank you. I really appreciate. So if we can ask the question at the next meeting, maybe publicly, like if you would like to answer. I have a couple of information since I sit on the Regional Service Commission. So the issue like for the bridge to cross the Scoudouc River and what would be in the Scoudouc region going to Dieppe. As I said, it's managed by the Regional Service Commission, so they have access to the location. It's the line for the old railway, so they secured that line. And there are some funding requests, and they're waiting for an answer to be able to do the work. So before there is any money available, we are like in a holding pattern for now, but we're expecting some answers, and if they answer sooner, well, we'll see some action sooner. So the third item I would like to change with council members is a suggestion or recommendation, something to discuss with the council. We have a lot of projects coming this summer, but congratulations to the team. I'm trying to do the list. I'm sure like I missed like Beaubridge East and sidewalk on Beaubridge, like the trunk line or Ohio Street, the major work on Main Street, like the culvert on Cornwall Street, would it be possible like to have some kind of document or maybe like a newsletter just to give a brief description of that work, and what's even more important, to share with our citizens. So also like all the timeline for this work. I'm not sure, like Sylvain, is it something that could be done? A short document, not a long document, that we could share also with the council members and also the public via social media, just to inform like the citizen what will happen the next few months. So you probably know what I know, like there could be some unforeseen circumstances. So the dates, it doesn't have to be exactly like June 2nd at 2 o'clock in the morning. So if we can get just the main dates, like so would it be a possibility so the administration could provide something? Yes, certainly the communication department is working on this, especially when the work will be done, like to give some advertising, like there will be some detours or the circulation might slow down and things like that. But it's quite easy like to get a list of all the work, meaning the project A will be May to June, and then project B September, October, etc. Yes, it would be possible. It would be interesting to see this, and I appreciate all the effort. Well, thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Next item, 14, presentation and reading of bylaws. So we have 5 in this item. The first one, the rezoning for 65Z, which is the one located on the corner of Bellevue and Beaubridge Street.
So on aurait besoin.
So we would need, so we had a presentation from Plan 360. We had a public hearing, as you remember. I would need someone to read that bylaw to start if there would be any question, a debate. Councillor Joël Després. Thank you, Mr. 14Z, 144465Z. Be it resolved that the bylaw entitled Bylaw Z-14-44-65Z, a bylaw amending the Town of Shediac zoning bylaw, be read a second time by its title. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. I was going to say Jean Bertin, but I saw you at the same time. Questions? Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For this bylaw and also for the next bylaw, so it's Plan 360 will come in and answer the questions we had at the last presentation. Yes, they could. I know we got some information, but because we have people here in the room, the public, I think it would be important. So Plan 360 would answer, at least to give an overview. So what they did, because they did like a follow-up report, I think they call it. Public hearing follow-up. So it was Mr. Robichaud. Are you for the two? Okay. Sorry, I mean, I know we had the chance like to see the document. Maybe you want to go through this also. It helps us if I'm turning on your mic. So we took some notes like according to your comments. And for this file, what seemed to me the main concern was for like the landscaping and all the green spaces and also like the buffer zone. And we asked some changes to the developer, and they submitted an updated plan showing like a few screens like between like the parking lot and the neighboring property, and it's showing some trees as the bylaw would require. In this case, they even double like the number of trees required from the bylaw. And I can also post it on my screen just to show like what is the updated plan. So people in the room chamber can see it also. It's just to show the plan. It's nice when we have visual information. So what's new also with this plan? Can you see it? Or? So that's what they're showing. If you have a parking near a neighboring property, so there is a visual screen. So they're proposing like some shrubs as a visual screen between the parking lot and the neighboring properties. The same here, like at the right. And we also see like the trees being planted, like which are the little green dots, and they're spread like all over the property. So since like the last public hearing, like since the last meeting, so that's what's new on this plan. So was it good for you, like Councillor Cormier? Councillor Paul Boudreau, question. Mr. Phil, on the same subject, I noted this for trees. There was a request from the people opposing. So people were questioning for a fence. Did you discuss it internally? Would it be possible to have a fence? I don't know where it would be located. You are the expert. You have an answer on this one, Phil? So the way we're showing it, that's what the zoning bylaw is asking for, and what they're asking to have a visual screen. It not necessarily have to be like a fence. It could be trees. They choose, the developer choose to use like trees instead, so or green spaces. If you want to be more specific, to have a fence require a fence, that could be done as a rezoning condition. It's not what the bylaw is requesting. If it's something you want, is to ask specifically like for conditions to have a fence, like other like than trees. So when you are discussing like the changes, conditions of the citizen, are you aware like of the request from the citizen, the fence, for instance? Were you aware like that this individual wanted to have like a fence like around the space? I did not hear like any specific comments on having a fence to surround the property. It was during the public hearing, but they could ask. So that's when you are made aware like people want some condition. If I may add also, so the recommendations that are given for rezoning requests are given by the PRAC, and the PRAC brings a recommendation to the council prior to the public hearing. So we received the report the same evening as the public hearing, but the PRAC is also like open and transparent process. Like people are invited to provide their comments to the PRAC. They can provide the same comments, and if those comments are not provided, well, they're not aware like when the recommendation is given or when the hearing is done a few weeks before. So we heard them here, but the specific bylaw is not mentioning any fence. They're talking about like a buffer zone or a visual screen. But the developer has an option to choose: will I build a fence or will I plant trees? So for aesthetic aspect, he chose some trees, or maybe it's a matter also, but it's up to the developer, like who suggests this, and it's according to our bylaw. So he indicated like some shrubs and as this.
You're comfortable with that, with the trees, Phil? Thank you, Phil. Great. So with that, those were questions. So, Mr. Clerk, there's no vote yet. We have to vote on the first one after, then later, yes. So, with that, all those in favor, raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Against? 1, 2, 3. Motion carried. Majority adopts it. Mr. Clerk, bylaw. Mike, please. Sorry. Thank you very much. Bylaw Z14-44-65 Z, a bylaw modifying bylaw Z-44-64-44. Be resolved that we accept the second reading of bylaw Z-14-64, 44-65 Z by its title, moved by Joël Després, seconded by Jean-Claude Bertin. So all those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion carried. Be it resolved that the bylaw Z-14-44-65Z, bylaw amending the town of Shediac zoning bylaw, be read a third time by its title in its entirety. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. All those in favor shall raise their hand. 6, 7, 8. All those against? Motion carried. A majority adopts the motion. Bylaw Z-44-44-65Z, a bylaw modifying bylaw Z-44-44-64Z. By virtue of the bylaw Z-14-44 is deposited in Westmoreland under 33 23 May 2014 and modified at Schedule A. Zoning map, Town of Shediac is mentioned in the body of it, modified by the card, the following map. Be it resolved that we accept the third reading of the bylaw Z-14-44-65Z by its title and in its entirety. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. All those in favor shall raise their hand. 8. All those against? 1, 2, 3. Motion carried. The majority carries it. List of conditions. Goes from A to HI. Yes. I just want to make sure there wasn't a mistake. The resolution, whereas the Shediac County Council accepted the request made by Z45376 NBL Limited to rezone the properties bearing property identification number 008. Moved, and for all the rest, I don't have it. I didn't have that. I see it now. You had the old version.
Okay. To rezone
the properties bearing property identification number 008666491 in the town of Shediac from medium density residential R2 to high density residential R3 to allow 11 multi-unit dwellings, each with 3 stories and 12 units. Be it resolved that the following conditions apply to bylaw Z-14-44-65Z. Notwithstanding all other provisions to the contrary, the lands, buildings, and structures on the above mentioned property are subject to the following terms and conditions. That the development be in general in compliance with the site plan and elevation provided in Schedule B65. That the buildings identified in Schedule B65 be constructed sequentially in the following order: Building A, Building B, Building C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. The reciprocal right-of-way shall be shown on the subdivision plans and registered on title of all properties created from parent PID 008669491, providing vehicular and pedestrian access for all such properties to the parking areas and driveways. That in accordance with section 26.3 of the zoning bylaw and in conformity with Schedule B65, Building E and Building K may be located on one property, Building F and Building J may be located on one property, and Buildings B, G, and I may be located on one property. That notwithstanding section 11.4B of the Town of Shediac zoning bylaw, Council accepts to increase the maximum setback to 120 meters for building H, I, J, and K identified in Schedule B65. That notwithstanding section 11.5 of the Town of Shediac zoning bylaw, Council accepts to allow the parking lot in the front yard for the building H, I, J, and K identified in Schedule B65. That prior to the issuance of any building and development permits, except for buildings A, B, and C identified in Schedule B65, an agreement be completed between the Town of Shediac and the owner of properties regarding sanitary sewer, and that the agreement shall stipulate that the building shall not be occupied until of the section of the sanitary trunk sewer line as outlined in the sanitary trunk sewer pre-design study and report prepared by Englobe for the Greater Shediac Sewers Commission on May 15, 2023, is fully completed, operational, and able to service the property or properties. That a traffic impact study prepared by a professional engineer licensed to practice in the province of New Brunswick be submitted to the Director of Municipal Operations, that all work recommended in the study be completed, and that a copy of the Director's approval be submitted to the Southeast Regional Service Commission prior to the issuance of a building and development permit. That pending the adoption of a development charge bylaw by the Town of Shediac applicable to the subject property or properties, the owner or owners shall enter into an agreement with the Town of Shediac. Such agreement shall provide for the payment of a fee to the town in recognition of and for the benefit derived from the newly constructed extension of Breaux Bridge Street. Upon adoption of a development charge bylaw applicable to the subject property or properties, the provisions of such bylaw shall apply. I so move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. I think that Councillor Bertin had the better of both. He spoke a lot less. All those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those against? 1, 2, 3. Motion, the majority carries it. Motion carried by majority. Oh, I hadn't seen your question, Paul. My apologies. I have a question related to one of the conditions read. Is it the moment to ask about it? It's already been voted on, but if it's for information, it won't change my vote. But that require a traffic study. Can Fred or someone explain how will they do it? That is a credible study. Once Breaux Bridge is open, it will completely change the dynamics of the street. When will they do that study? How could they do that study before Breaux Bridge is open? For the developer, are there formulas that predict? Yes, there are formulas. There are ways to predict traffic. Can you elaborate? It's a bit complicated. There's like 25 pages of to explain it. But if we do a traffic study on our end, once Breaux Bridge opens, there'll be 2 studies that will be independent of each other. For us, it will be to incorporate all traffic and vehicle and foot traffic, and the developer will do his or her own study to make sure that it works with their development. So for the public, I just wanted to have the public understand that it's a serious study, and that and it will include Breaux Bridge east to west. That is the study that Ms. Pelletier will be doing, and it will be with the traffic changes that will happen with that opening. Thank you, Fred. Councillor Joël Després, would you like to read the second, or would you like to pass it to somebody else? You could pass it to someone else. So for 66, bylaw 66, it's on the same street, Bellevue, a bit higher, up higher, that we discussed lately. Madam Deputy Mayor, would you like to read it? Absolutely, Your Worship. Bylaw Z-14-44 66Z. Be it resolved that the bylaw entitled Z-14-44.66, a bylaw modifying Shediac's zoning bylaw, be read a second time by title. Moved by Sylvie Colette-Boudreau, seconded by Jean-Claude Bertin. Any questions on this one? Councillor Patricia Brooke-Chevalier. Thank you, Your Worship. Will Phil? We can certainly invite him to show us new plans. That's on your follow-up report, obviously. There are conditions that were added in addition based on the council's comments, and there was a plan that was updated as well. So what's been updated on the plan, there are clarifications. Nothing is really any different than what you saw at the first meeting. It's like the project that we just saw. They added some greenery between access and parking, and they also showed, I forget the word, the French word, but it's turning radius. That's what we distribute to the fire chief, so to make sure that it follows their requirements, so that they can maneuver the fire truck on the property. So here, that they also chose not to build a fence, and they built greenery as the screen, and trees on the one tree, and the fire chief approved the plan as shown. The only thing he mentioned, if it goes to the building permit stage, that he'd like to see a fire hydrant on the property as well. That was covered as a condition. And also there were some issues around drainage, and there was a condition added related to drainage, that an as-built drainage plan be submitted. Thank you for clarifying. Well, I just had, you're looking for clarifications on that? So that's the final plan. That's what was presented at the public hearing. And I know that the developer talked about moving the storage and
L'affaire qu'il y a là, mais
That object there?
peux-tu faire ça aussi?
Can they do that?
Comme ça, faut
If we adopt it like this, does it have to stay like this? There's a condition that says that the development has to be in general overall compliance with the plan. That means that what we're seeing there should be correspond to reality. The building might have to move a bit during, that would be okay, but there wouldn't be major deviations in terms of what you're seeing today. You could move it 6 inches, but you can't move it 60 feet.
Puis je comprends que
So, as I understand it,
c'est sur ça qu'on vote.
that's what we're voting on. But if the developer were okay with that, we can't do it. We can't ask them. They're not here. Is that what you're saying?
Puis
Yes.
il y a quelqu'un qui m'a demandé
Somebody asked me if the developer could apply, even if it wasn't their land. I don't know if it's their land, or I think so. We've already seen this. It's not his property. It is not his property. But before we deal with an application for someone else, there's a form that the owner has to complete that provides authority to the person making the application to apply in their name. We do have that form. So that was filled in, and he has a right to do this. Something that we've seen several times before. I just wanted to make sure. Sure, there's it's a form that to be filmed. It clarifies the question. So there you spoke about engineers and as built. What does this mean? Does this mean that it's an engineer, or then they put their seal on it and it's guaranteed that if they ask a swale of 2 feet or whatever, that's what had to be done? And if it's not done, what recourse? They would not be in compliance with one of the conditions, basically. There'd be an infraction, and we'd seek out how to resolve the infraction. If there's not a resolution, it will come back before council to determine how to proceed. So not just a fine and you'd be done. There are no fines. It's not just a little rap on the knuckles. Thank you.
Puis, non, c'est ça, c'est beau.
No, that's it. Great.
Merci.
Thank you.
Sure.
Are you sure?
Comme là,
Well,
le développeur, là, il va-tu
so the developer,
la terre, puis
will he haul over some earth and bring it up higher? We're not sure of that element yet. In terms of changing the elevation, we're not at a stage where we have a drainage plan that would normally show the changes to levels. So at this point, we're not sure that if the land will be allocated. The drainage plan is a requirement. He has to provide it. And you can't flood out your neighbors. That's not allowed. And for elevation, I think he's entitled to go up a maximum of a meter. According to the bylaw, he can technically go up higher than a meter, but you have to submit a drainage plan in terms of how to manage the water. And so that doesn't have negative impacts. Thank you. And he's talking about 2 stories. So he can't decide to go higher because it's set at 2 stories, and he can't decide all of a sudden. He can't decide to go to 7. That's great. Thank you. Council Journalist Cormier has a question. Yes, Your Worship. Could you remind me, R2 right now, it's not that, what can be built? How many doors? 6 units per lot. I did a quick calculation. They're not precise measurements, but I see that if he builds the street, he could have 3 lots. So in terms of minimum size, 36 units in total. So it'd be 1 story or 2. He can have 2 stories. And with R3, what's the total? How many units would be allowed? Technically, zone R3 has no limits in the number of units. But in case of a rezoning, we limit the number of units based on the conditions. And it's the condition that says that the plan that we see is the one that he would have to do. I forget the exact number, 58. No, in this case, for this rezoning, it would be limited to 58 units. Okay? And a maximum of 2 stories. Yes. Okay. As you know, I'll just say my 2 cents on this one. I can't support this rezoning application, R3, to go from 36 to 58. I can't do anything about the zoning that's R2. If the owner wants to build 36, our hands are tied. But as councillor, our hands are not tied to stop the zoning from R3 to R3. I don't know if you've seen the Jacques Simon Galland. It's built up side by side, no garage, there's no room. I would really like to think about the citizens, and not just in Bellevue, all the citizens around. It's come to a point where if we accept an R3, we're putting a whale in a can of sardines. We're trying to add a maximum in a small corner, and it doesn't make sense. Well, I know that we want the tax revenue and you want development. I understand that I don't want to stop development because we don't have a municipal plan, because it's already condensed, extremely condensed. I just can't support this, and I hope that my colleagues can also see that we're trying to place something that doesn't make any sense. It's already R2. We have to accept that. R3, in my mind, I think we're pushing the limits here. I think that we're not sitting with the citizens around the property. I think we're thinking of the money that will bring into our coffers, and it's not the way to go about it. That is my opinion. Thank you for your comments. I will make a small correction. We do have a municipal plan for a long time, an updated one. It's being revised every 10 years. The last time it was revised was about 10 years ago. We're not delayed by 28 years. I'm just highlighting that. Excuse me, I understand you have an opinion on this, but it does exist, but it's not updated. Thank you. Councillor Paul Boudreau. I have a question for Phil to follow up on what Janice was saying. What couldn't he do now if he stays R2 compared to R3? Is it the height of the building, the width, the doors, number of units? The number. So R2 would be 6 units per building. Now he's proposing 12 up to 24. So it would reduce the number of units to 6. You mentioned the drainage plan. Is there an addition? I was there today on the north side. What's the street? Jocelyn? It's a lake right now. What is set out, what is foreseen for the drainage plan? Are there catch basins, or this is what the study will determine before you put shovels in the ground? We don't have the information right now. That is something that will be requested before issuing a permit. The drainage plan, if I'm interpreting it properly, is approved by municipality. Yes, exactly. It's based on stormwater sewers, essentially. So I'm not an engineer, but there seems to be a plateau between the 2 streets and Bellevue. Anyways, I'll leave it to the engineers. So the drainage plan is essential before going any further. If you accept it, it is a condition before issuing a permit. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Councillor Boudreau. Councillor Peterborough. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm disappointed to see that there's no fencing placed. They said they're putting trees behind. If we look in terms of the privacy of the people on Brobridge Street, especially where there is parking that's facing houses, I think that there should be a fence all along the back part of the yard at a minimum of 6 feet, and a fence, not a fence, Not Shane, where then there's no luminosity that can pass through. Opaque, where people park in the parking lot facing Bellevue Street, that it wouldn't bother people there. If you see was proposed with the trees, it won't correct that problem. Every time somebody's going to come in at night and park in the parking lot, the lights will be going into homes on Bellevue Street. I can't see that this project can go forward if there's no fence. Opaque one, it's the opposite of transparent. Well, at the minimum, at least 6 feet, and to avoid that problem. It doesn't make sense to have people who will park there and their lights will always be. So I don't know if we can make an amendment. It can be a condition, and we're adopting the conditions in a moment, or they're there for consideration at any rate. It could be added to the list of conditions. Basically, it would be simple to do it. Do we need to make an amendment to the motion for that? Basically, yes. Well, we could at least treat it, and it would be clear that way. A question for Phil. Height of fences. Does our bylaw set out a maximum? I don't remember right offhand. 2 meters would be equivalent of 6 feet, 6.5 feet about. So maybe a 2 meter fence. We could say that. It would help on that front. May I make the amendment now? Not just yet. We're not up to the conditions. We have to adopt at second and third reading, and the conditions are listed after. There are currently 8 of them. We can add a 9th condition. It's simple.
Hold that thought.
Hold that thought. Anything else, Councillor Bro? No. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Patricia Brooke-Chevalier. I'm going to make it short. Is that when Councillor Cormier spoke, he made me think of something else. Let's say he was to build row housing. How would the lots be divided? What are his possibilities? Well, I didn't do the look at how the buildings could be on the property. I just looked at the minimum width of a lot. I looked at how wide the lot was and how you could divide them based on minimum width. So it'd be 3 on each side with a street in the middle. That's if he builds a street. So in terms of the height, it can be 2 stories as well. It's either 9 or 11 meters in terms of maximum height. It's basically 2 or 3 stories. There's a building on Gallagher, for example. It's a 6-unit one with 3 stories. It goes up a bit. That says more or less what you could build. So as it stands right now, the behind, well, I don't know. It says it's marked existing development. That's that's parking, but that's 3 and 3. He could do. Technically, he had the minimum lot size to do that. Thank you. Your exercise, it's based on square footage. It's not an exact design. Great. I would agree with the fence. In terms of the fence, there are 2 more questions. I would propose an approach that we could take up where we could have a well-written condition if that's really what you're looking for. I will come back to you on that. Councillor Joël Després. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Phil. You basically answered all my concerns. In terms of drainage, that was one. Are connected to the pipe? Would you call the pipe? The storm drain? Is it connected to it? In terms of drainage? Or is it just a ditch? It goes to a pipe and it will go where it goes?
Just
on top of my head, I had to take the model out to see where the storm drain passes and what's connected, but I haven't looked into that detail. So I'll ask a different question in another way. So the other projects that have happened in Shediac, are they connected to the storm drain? Well, you'd have storm drains in the street, as per usual. Well, the ditches, are they connected directly to that, or does it only flow? Is there a, I've never noticed it. That's why I'm asked the question. Is there a manhole wherever there's a parking lot where it's piped directly? Not necessarily. It depends on the drainage plan that's approved. There are some parking lots that need not necessarily drainage, but or that the drainage doesn't really require it. I can tell you that normally, if the parking lot is not leveled, or the last thing that the owner would want to have is water accumulating on their asphalt, it'll degrade the quality of their infrastructure. Usually, if there isn't a manhole, there'll be swales that will direct water to a certain place where it can go into the sewer. There's always ways, it depends on the quantity of water. Sometimes it goes into grass and it dissipates that way. Each case is separate. It depends on the asphalt surface. If it's small, you don't need to do too much. If it's a big parking lot, you pretty much need to put in storm drains. It's a bit like traffic studies. There are pages and pages of calculations that explain the situation you're in, and they're all independent. And to further clarify, another concern I had at the last meeting, you asked the question around the engineer. We didn't ask that it be stamped at the end. As I understood it, inaudible. It will be for this one? Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Councillor McElroy.
Councillor McElroy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few concerns. I guess first and foremost, we're embarking now on an updated municipal development plan. We formed a committee. We're going to be inviting all the residents of the town. Tell us what kind of town you want. Tell us what kind of development you want. Tell us where you want the high density, where you want the commercial, where you want whatever. We're going to embrace your ideas. It's going to be your plan, your vision. Council's going to embrace it, and that's how we're going to go forward and develop a town. We did that, mind you, it was many years ago. Mm-hmm. Then we come along and say, well, we're going to change this. The plan called for it to be R2, whether that was right or wrong. That's what it called for. Nothing's carved in stone, but it seems to me in Shediac, if you ask for higher density, it's quite easy to get, and it shouldn't be easy to get. The plan is there, the zoning is there, and that's what was approved supposedly years ago, endorsed by public consultation with residents. What kind of confidence are they going to have in us going forward with a municipal development plan now, where they see development run amok in this area, where densities are increasing? This is almost a 50% increase in density on this particular site, only because it was asked for. It can be developed as it's currently zoned. There's no impediment to that. But because there's a plan underway that would motivate some developers to say, I'm going to go now and get the rezoning. I'm not going to wait until it is confirmed as R2 in the new plan, because the town will probably stick to the new plan for a period of time. That causes me concern. As with the previous proposal and this one, which Councillor Breaux pointed out, shrubbery, especially if it's shrubbery versus tall, dense vegetation, wouldn't cover the license plate of a car in most cases. So it's totally ineffective as a visual barrier. And I believe that the only thing that's effective is a fence, something that's engineered and constructed to stand for years and not blow over or be unsightly in a short period of time. I don't support the application, but I do agree that if it goes forward, that it should at least have some fencing. I guess those are my main concerns. There's no valid reason for us to change what is permitted to be developed on that site. It can be developed without an application, without a rezoning. We're only acquiescing to a request, put more units there, which we've done all over that part of town. And to me, we've made mistakes that we can't change. But going forward, we need to have some proper planning in Shediac, and we need to control development, not just helter-skelter, piecemeal, change here, change there. To me, we're heading in the wrong direction, and I don't think this should be approved for those reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McElroy. There we go. Madame la maire suppléante.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. J'apprécie tous les commentaires qui ont été faits autour de la table. Ce qui a trait aux arbres, on a parlé de clôture, puis je suis pas en désaccord de la clôture. On va voir ce qui va se passer dans les prochaines, les prochaines minutes. Le fait qu'on va avoir un stamped engineer plan pour le
drainage.
Le drainage plus tard, je pense que ça serait vraiment important aussi qu'on aille avec une pleine clôture ou qu'on aille avec les arbres qui sont présentés. Je pense que ça serait important qu'on tienne le propriétaire accountable de placer ce qu'il nous présente. Je ne sais pas si on fait une revue par la suite. Le plan de drainage, c'est une chose.
C'est plan 360 qui fait ça.
OK, le plan de drainage, c'est une chose parce que c'est un étang, puis c'est...
Non, mais il s'assure que le projet est construit tel que présenté.
Tel que présenté.
Y compris des...
C'est que j'apprécie ça. Puis dans ce cas-ci, on a des beaux points verts qui nous expliquent ce qui devrait être présenté, puis il y a des choses qui vont peut-être être changées. Mais ça serait juste de s'assurer que... Puis s'ils peuvent en mettre plus, qu'ils en mettent plus pour pouvoir protéger la lumière des autos. Puis si c'est une clôture, ça sera une clôture en plus. Merci, j'apprécie.
Plaisir. Les derniers conseils, Paul Boudreau.
Oui, le dernier. Merci, M. le maire. Tantôt, il y a 2 mots qui ont sorti net zéro. On n'a pas sorti une politique maintenant pour les développeurs. Il faut que sur le terrain ait une place. On a parlé du drainage beaucoup, des bons points faire tout la table. Y a-t-il le concept de net zéro dans ceci?
Tu dois le faire. Tu es obligé de le faire.
Comment puis où?
Il y a différentes méthodes à le faire. Comme je dis, on n'a pas le plan de drainage maintenant, on ne sait pas c'est quoi sa méthode. Mais...
Et là, est-ce que ça va l'indiquer dans le plan de drainage? Comment est-ce qu'il rencontre nos exigences net zéro?
Yeah. Ma vision, mon perception de net zéro, c'est des genres de holding pond. Tu vois ça en ville de même à côté, puis les swales dedans. Ici, ce sont des bâtiments puis de l'asphalte.
Les différentes façons de le faire, ça peut être en dessous du stationnement aussi, par des bassins sous le stationnement. Je ne dis pas que c'est ça qu'ils vont faire, il y a différentes façons à arriver là. On n'a juste pas les informations aujourd'hui de comment ils vont le faire exactement, mais c'est une exigence.
Donc, il y en a, on aurait notre politique ou notre règlement de net zéro.
Non, pas le choix, ouais.
Have the net zero regulation. If not, they will not get their building permit. I did not see, it's difficult to see, but it's not. It's a plan. It gives us a visual, but it's not like the plan, but all the minutious details.
Okay.
Merci pour la question.
Thank you. Thanks for your question. Councillor O'Brien. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's really a good questions around the table. Peter was mentioning a fence earlier. So in the condition, so that we will mention later, would it be possible to create a buffer zone? Something similar to R1, close to R3, there's a 40-meter buffer zone. Would it be possible to adopt a buffer zone with the fence surrounding it? Could it be part of one of the conditions? Yes, you have the power to do so, but a buffer, 40 feet buffer zone really change the total project, and they will not have enough space, and it's quite significant. But I understand your point. No, you can impose any conditions. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on the question for to add one condition, on top of on the 8 conditions we have. So those conditions are prepared by Plan 360 according to our bylaw. It's reflected. And if we want to add a condition, for an idea I'm proposing, if we want to add a condition, instead of trying to write a last minute, as we are doing, that's where we're at, maybe we could ask to Plan 360 to write it properly early to have a text, to have it translating, even it's only one or two sentences max. So it would give them the time to do so, and then we'd be able to vote on those conditions with the third reading, like in the next meeting. So that's what I would suggest to do if that's something you would want to do. Sounds good. So I see many people like nodding. So Councillor Peterborough. So my concern would be that so the recommendation has to come, like if we want to require a fence, we wouldn't want to put like a wood fence, and in 10 years from now it's all like damage, and the importance of the fence becomes really critical. So your department would have to come like with something that will be there long term, not something that will degrade over the years, and then the fence is not there anymore. That fence has to be sustainable and should last long term, not a wood fence. So we need something that would last, and people from Bellevue living on Bellevue Street would feel comfortable. It's there like for the duration of the project. So is your department able to do this? Because if you only come with a request for a fence, well, so the dimension of the fence, or we have the authority like to control the material being used. First, I'm not sure what you mean like a sustainable fence. It's not that wood fence is not like it's not sustainable. I want to be like for how long it would last, like through the material use, and I will see what's available. So Mr. CEO has something he would like to add, and of course, and I'm asking the question to Phil, and I think maybe that's where the council would like to know. If the council decides to add a condition to build a fence, like a 2-meter fence, and the fence like degrades after 10 years, and the owner just demolish it, now is he like an infraction with one of the conditions of the zoning, and with a compliance notice would be given by Plan 360 to correct the situation? If it's the case, well, if ever the fence become like falls down, or is the council could take legal action to force like the owner to build a fence again, as stated in one of the conditions of the rezoning. If you agree, Mr. Richaud, do you think it would work? Yes, it would. So that's where we could ensure like the sustainability. And as the planner said, like so they could play a little bit with the materials, but you cannot impose something that would be considered like too costly or above the standards that would not be compliant with the decision made by the council. So if we had this condition, well, it wouldn't be a problem, because if he decides to build something that's that will not last, we'll have to redo it like sooner than later. So we're able like to request like use like the law to do it. Yes. Perfect. So we have the second reading on the table for a vote. So we'll proceed to second reading, and then I will ask you if you want to put it until later, and then I will take a motion to table it essentially. And we'll process with the third reading, because it takes 3 readings, and the condition with the third reading. It's always at the same time. It's not. And we'll process them there if it's the wish of the council. So you're clear, right? So, on the second reading as proposed, I need a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All against. 4.
Okay. I
had 8-3 the last time. So it's carried. So Mr. Clerk. Thank you very much. Bylaw Z-14-4466, a bylaw modifying the bylaw Z-44 of the town of Shediac. Deputy Mayor, be it resolved that we accept the second reading of the bylaw Z-14-44-66Z by its title. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Deputy Mayor Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Against? Carried. So you don't have to read it on this note, unless you want to proceed with the third reading with the conditions as we have now. I would need a motion like to table it if you have to. So I move that we table the third reading. For tabling, it's not really a word like in French, but there's no debate. I need like if you want to table it, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 7. Against tabling the reading, 4. Carried. So the third reading and condition will be at a later meeting. It's not seconded.
Jean-Claude, ouais.
Jean-Claude.
Excusez-moi. Je l'ai peut-être même pas dit. Forte voix, excusez-moi.
Sorry.
Merci pour celle-là.
Thank you for this one. So the third bylaw, the procedural bylaw, which is the bylaw that's governing the way how the municipal council works with this essential. Mr. CEO, give us like a little bit of background of this one. Thank you, Mr. So I had a meeting. A working meeting like in March, we had presented the 3 bylaws on the governance, 2 of the 3 governance bylaws that we're proposing to the council to look at, including like a policy that we do not have this evening that would come to the next meeting, like once the council decides like to do the second and third reading of those bylaws. Essentially, like for the procedural bylaw, it's the one that we had presented. And you offered some suggestions and comments, so we integrated those comments within like this bylaw, and I will let you know like essentially everywhere there is blue, like the blue in blue, it's at the specific. It's where like some modifications were made.
Oui, ça serait l'attachement 3, oui.
It would be attachment 3.
Alors, évidemment, le numéro de l'arrêté.
And of course, like the number of the bylaw would change because we are changing like the bylaw.
Dans un premier temps, dans l'application.
So first, like in the application, just after the application, like to the meeting, like section 5. So we brought some changes as for the means used like to give notice. Essentially, it was to notify like the like the notice of meetings, like we done a certain way. So we changed it like to chair, like the notice would be forwarded by email or any technological means used by the municipality. So for now, we're using eScribe, and eScribe also is sending an email, and before it was saying like any other way. So it's a change that we underwent. The rest is quite similar. As for for 6, so for the quorum, formerly there was a number, quorum said 7, for instance. We are proposing that simply like a simple majority of the composition of the council members. If the composition of the council would change in the future, the council would decide otherwise. We wouldn't need like to change the procedural bylaw. So it's more like aligned with the language used by most of the municipalities in New Brunswick. As for the regular meetings, So the changes, once again, we're talking about like the notice for the meeting that we're looking to change. And also we wanted to clarify like the amount of time that we would before provided the documentation. So to be more compliant, like if the meeting before, they would say like Friday, we're using like a number of hours versus like the number of days. Because if a meeting is held on a Tuesday or Wednesday, so like today, like we see like Friday versus a certain, usually it was always like a 72 hours, but now we would recommend like to use like a number of hours, not a date, not a specific date. And so the major change, and Mr. CEO, like the time of the meeting is changed at 6 o'clock officially, because it was always like a temporary motion, because our meetings, according to the procedural bylaw, was at 7 p.m. and it was to add like the first and third Monday, it would be a regular meeting. So it's in line with what and how the council is planning their meetings. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, for the addition. And if we skip to number 14, which was the agenda for the meetings, we proposed like an agenda, like maybe like a smaller agenda for one of the two meetings. What we're proposing is the same agenda for the two meetings. So there would be no modification from the first one into the second meeting. So the new agenda, it would be an addition of a question period at item 7. And also like the reports from the administration would be done, the administration council members, mayor, and the CEO. And if the administration, other sectors of administration present a report, it would be. And I also want like to remind you, like we are condensing like some of them, because some things we were doing before, but they're becoming, instead of repeating them, like it's under one item. So it's something that changed. And there's also like a space for notice of motion. And there was all the question, like if the council wanted to create like some committees, or let's say like one council would like to put the formula like for plenary committee of the whole, like they would have the option to do so, but would simply need like a mandate from the council, some kind of guideline of how to proceed. So you don't have to change a bylaw unless unless it's adopted by the council or each committee. As for the council deliberation, well, at 16 there was also like, since like the council composition is changing, like it goes from 13 to 10 members, what are implications like the mayor will have in the vote? Our recommendation like would always have a vote on any question. So this one, except like if the mayor vote and there's a tie, what would happen like in a context like this? If we go a little bit lower, there was also the matter of a delegation and groups also coming to present. There would be a time limit and a limit of people that could participate in the delegation. And the question period, or the questions asked, there would be, the question is always addressed like to the chair. It's not asked directly like to a member of administration or a council member. And how we answer, and the procedures we will use to answer this question in a public session. 16, like a code of ethics, well, it's aligned with the language it has to be part of the regulation. It's part of the regulation. We have to. They have mentioned like the code of conduct within the meeting. To this language, according, we have to have that code, and that's for the reason it's there. And the last change, it will be 20. So this bylaw would only come in force June 1st. So it means those changes would only. So they would be in place for the new council. So thanks for the overview. So a couple of questions. Councillor Janice Cormier. The only question I would have, like for the 72 hours like before to get the information, is it the same like for Plan 360, like for people who come to do the presentation? Is it the same like 72 hours in advance like to get information? It depends. And of course, if Plan 360 like is presenting a report, to include it, we'll include it like in the 72 hours, but let's say there would be a group or delegation that want to present something like we need it like earlier so we can include it. I think it's the Wednesday like before a couple of days like before like the deadline we have to submit documentation. We need to receive this so we can provide it to you. So it's a practice we used before, and this, and also like that's how we ask people like to provide the documentation before we can give it with the notice of meeting. Is there anything saying like the same day we will not process the information given the same day? Like currently, the way the bylaw is being proposed, the only forum that would allow the residents to ask the council the same day would be at during the question period.
Councillor McElroy.
Councillor McElroy.
Thank you, Mayor. On our agenda for tonight, there's a section that's called inquiries by members of council.
Yes.
Excuse me. And we are required, and I know it's more a policy versus a law or a regulation, but we're required to give notice as to the type of questions that we may be bringing forward so that staff, in fairness to staff, they have an opportunity to be prepared, not caught off guard. As I read the item 14, the proposed agenda for a regular meeting, there's a section where reports and statements can be made by councillors. I don't see a specific inquiries by councillors, but I do see questions from the public. And I don't see any requirement that there be any indication as to what the public
under section 16, item number 9. Each member of council may address council. Under the item reports, council members, speaking time is limited to 5 minutes unless they're otherwise authorized by the chair, which can be provided, but that can include a question as well. But we can make that clearer if that's what you're looking for.
We've included it.
Well, I guess I think there should be some uniformity, I guess, or consistency between if members of council are going to be asked to indicate what it is they're going to be questioning council of or speaking of. I think it's only fair that that members of the public, if they have a question that they'd like to bring forward or a comment that they'd like to make on an item, also give some notification of that. I mean, otherwise we're only half.
You only have half the conversation.
Well, only half of the time we're going to be reasonable in dealing with staff. If they don't know what's coming, then they're going to be back in the same situation they were in before, where questions will come forward without any advance notice. They won't have time to prepare a response, and it's not always going to go well if they for anybody really.
Yeah.
So I think, in fairness to anybody who wants to come forward with a question, whether it's from council or from the public, it should be a consistent format, and staff should be able to know in advance, so they're prepared to respond.
Yeah, when it comes specifically to the question period where residents can come ask questions of council, we've added language that obviously permits council to not have to answer on the spot. And I will direct you to item number 1620.
Questions? from the board?
1620C. So responses may be provided at a later time, orally at that time, or in writing at a later time. So it permits time for a proper response if it cannot be provided. And we can, at that meeting, say, we don't have that answer, but we can get back to you. How would you like your response given? Are you okay that we report back at the next meeting, or during in writing, or can we submit it at a later time? So that permits us, per se. When it comes to elected members of council, our recommendation was that instead of having 2 or 3 different areas where council could question the administration on certain things. And I just use the example at my report or at a departmental report. There may be questions that might derive from that. Those can still occur within that report. But if a councillor has a specific topic that he wants to raise or a specific item that he wants to address, he will have that opportunity when he provides his report at every meeting. So again, I would say that we would welcome a notice that if you're providing any, if you're asking for a question and you're expecting a response at the meeting, that they be formulated in advance or forwarded to us in advance. But if the councillor asked us on the spot and we did not have that answer, obviously we'll have to get back to them on once we have a response for their answer.
Conseiller Peterborough.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So on the question for the questions from the public, I'm not sure if it's here or during the motion, so you'll tell me anyway. So when the question where the public can address the council, I was one of the, I thought it was a good idea. And many council members thought like until last week. So when we had Greg Pollock, like the guy that came to talk to people, like the information session, Greg Pollock is very knowledgeable, like in the municipal world, like for over 25 years. So he explained to us so the danger of having a question period, like a public question period, because in his opinion, he's saying like the act states like that the municipal council, it's a close entity and the public can attend like the council meeting, but it should not like no ingerence like, within the council unless they're on the agenda. So the question from the public just coming like randomly, in the majority of time, it will not be positive. And he suggested to have a system where the residents, people can ask, address to the council like maybe like to the next meeting, and that could be done like so we could have like a box maybe in the chamber with a sheet and people. So when the meeting starts, we tell if ever like there's something like on the agenda you would like to address the council on this matter, you can fill it, put it in the bags, and we'll contact you and we'll include it on the next agenda. I think there's some way to involve the public in our discussion without allow them like doing like just when it's not prepared, because there's a lot of emotions that come into it.
It becomes very difficult to manage as for the meeting, and there can be some comments that are directed to people. We are live on internet. I think that the public participation question it's a good thing, but I think it needs to be managed differently, and it should not be put on the agenda as questions from the public. But the public, it should be a different framework. A bit easier as it is now. If you want to have your say, you have to call. People have challenges, but if there's a way where people could fill in something next month, I'd like to address the council related to something on Cornwall Street, and then the staff can handle things. You have 5 minutes to discuss this case next meeting. Be more productive, I think, than to try to say, well, everyone is like nervous to see what this person will say. Well, we've seen it where people are hot topics, things get emotional, one talks and you lose control. I think that the integrity of a council has to be maintained. It's not that we want to remove the ability of people to speak, but we want to have it be framed democratically in a civil way. And if people make it, if it's easy for people to speak to the next council rather, I think we'll accomplish more. And I'd really like that the question of the public participation be removed from the agenda, and that we seriously consider a system in the room where people can easily let council know that they want to speak at the next meeting. Mr. CAO, this is a recommendation from staff that we're making to council related to the question period. And that's part of the session. I heard Mr. Craig make that comment. I don't disagree with him. I disagree with him to eliminate entirely for one reason. The council is elected by the public. The council is there to be accountable to the public. The reason why I agreed with him is that most municipalities, if they have a question period at the end of the meeting, the meeting has taken place from beginning to end. Though, let's say there's an item that's contentious, that brought forth a lot of emotion. The question period at the end was based on those emotions and wider load. Early in my career, the first municipality I worked for, and the second one actually I worked for, they had that method where the question period was at the end. In consultation with other municipalities that have a question period, they recommended we wanted to eliminate the question period at the end. We decided before we do that, we're going to put it at the start at the meeting, before the items are heard, before decisions are made. And that will allow a more open-mindedness for the population, and they can ask questions to the council, not specifically based on the emotions, based on a specific item. I can tell you, the second municipality, we changed it, took it from the end and brought it to the beginning of the meeting. The previous committee I was at did the same thing in their bylaw, procedural bylaw. It changed the tone of the discussion when people come before you. Will there be people who will still come to question period? And there, I won't hide that they can get hot. But in a place where there are petitions and applications, those emotions can also come out through a group that want us to present to council, even if it's not in the day itself. Then it doesn't become a question of having it on the agenda or not. It's a question of managing the chair, how the chair will manage the exchange with the staff. In terms of how the public will participate, language has to be included specifically in the bylaw based on the regulation. You can't just
we can't change
how people will act on the fly. Change it on the fly. It has to be written in the bylaw. The regulation requires that there be a specific method in writing in the bylaw as to how the public can participate as part of a meeting. What we're proposing is an adjustment in relation to what was there before. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Clerk, but you could show up until 10 minutes before the meeting and ask to be added to the agenda. To a petition. We feel that that's not the right way to do it. It's for that reason that when you have a presentation, a 10-minute presentation, you want the attention of the council for a certain determined period, you have to do it in a thoughtful way and not an emotional way. And it's for that reason that in a structured way, when you want to present a file to council, when you want council to think about a project or a grant application, you can do it within petitions and delegations. But when it comes in terms of asking questions to council, you can do it 15 minutes at a time. The chair manages that discussion, and there are clear guidelines. It's not a forum to criticize council. It's not a forum. It's not a forum to criticize staff. It's a legitimate question that a citizen might have related to A, B, C, D, F, G. Listen, the other day, my garbage wasn't picked up. Why wasn't it picked up? It might not be the best question to take at council or to cover at council, but I would assume that the chair can say, maybe you can provide your name and telephone number. We can do some investigation to see why. But maybe a resident would come here and wants to share that he doesn't agree with rezoning or a decision that council made. That's a forum where they can provide their comments. It's not emotionally loaded after a meeting that was already emotionally loaded. It's a concerted effort to come to the meeting, wait in line 15 minutes, and then the chair has to manage that 15 minutes in terms of that question. That's our recommendation. But I do understand your comment. There might be other people, but it remains a council decision. In terms of how the agenda is put together, but I would remind you that we have to, according to the regulation, share how the public can participate or will participate within a meeting. Right now, by removing the question period, that criteria is still fulfilled. It allows for participation through presentations, petitions, applications, and delegations. Thank you. Sorry if I took a lot of time. No, it's good. I think that maybe many others had the same question. I thought it deserved that a thorough answer. I'll allow questions for clarification. Listen, we don't often look at this. Councillor Paul Boudreau, just a comment. Congratulations to the staff team. It's a very respectful document to cover all those points. I'm very pleased that item 16.9 that the council member can still ask questions. It's open, and I thank you for that. Just to come back to, this is what seems to worry council members in terms for the public, as Peter said and Harry said. Walk us through it. People will come into the room. The agenda has been published. Do we know what people will address to us? No. That's where I see the danger, as Peter mentioned. How will we react? How will the mayor react to, I'm not saying an accusation, that presentation from the public? And Harry is absolutely right. I like it that we send the word to His Worship before. I think it's very dangerous that neither we nor you know what Mr. and Madam Citizen will be asking of the council. That's a trap, I'm afraid, that we'll fall into. Our meetings, we're trying to shorten them out. We try to shorten them out. With this, imagine 15 minutes, and then we have to react to what is said. Another 15 minutes, you'll react to it. It's a trap. It's 15 minutes in total. If people want to speak for 15 minutes and not have any feedback, that's fine. But there's only 15 minutes. If you succeed in doing 10 questions in 15 minutes or two, there's only 15 minutes. Based on my experience, their 15 minutes will end up to a reaction from us over 15 minutes and a reaction from staff for another 15 minutes because we want to cover. That's where I see I see some danger there in terms of what's being proposed. It might be something that we can still think about a bit for that part to see the magic formula that might satisfy everyone. Thank you. The rest of it's a great document. Thank you, Sylvain. Did a lot of work on that. Yves, that's all. If you'll allow, just for the question period, the chair, in this case, will have the tools to manage the question period. And the council also has tools in their toolbox to manage the question that's not being followed. I'll give you an example. Under 20, item 20, it says that the question period from the public is limited to a maximum of 15 minutes. It's not 15 minutes from the public, 15 minutes from council, 15 minutes of answers from staff. It's a total of 15 minutes. The chair of the meeting has to manage that part of it. That's not an admissible question. I'm giving you an example. Yeah, that's a valid question. Can staff provide an answer? Otherwise, how will we provide an answer? Or this is the 15th time that you've showed up, 15 meetings in a row. We've already given you the answer to that question. It's unfortunate, but I'll take a question from the next person. The chair has that power. But in terms of time, staff also has the tools to call a point of order, His Worship. This is it's 15 minutes, and now we're at 20 minutes. Can we come back to 15 minutes? The chair says, oh, yes, this is true. But the chair has to control those things. But the council members have the responsibility as well. They can highlight it, raise it. I'll give 10 seconds to react. No, we're already done 15 minutes. We know all that. We have the policies before us. You as well as the staff. We know that there's a time limit. We know that how questions should be answered, as including staff. People in the public don't know that. They will come here. They'll speak for a bit. They want to, and we respect that, and they expect an answer and maybe a debate. Internally, we know all that and how it works. But the person who comes here may be referring to garbage or their dog. I see a trap here, perhaps. It might go badly. We know all the rules. We know about 50 minutes. They said, no, I'm here and I need an answer. So it's simply a recommendation. I don't disagree. It royally has the potential to go that way. Councillor Janice Cormier, thank you, Your Worship. I entirely agree with Councillor McEnroy and Councillor Boudreau. It would be very important to have questions in advance so that we can answer our citizens the same evening. They come here, they ask questions. I think that we should be able to answer them that very evening if possible. And in terms or do better next time and call them. I think that such questions shouldn't come for to 15 minutes. I think I didn't get my garbage. I think the staff can manage that. So that comes for council to come before us and talk about garbage. We all have a role to play. I think it's more of a framework to be done, and that we should really focus on looking at developing this a bit more for citizens, for council, and for staff. I'm understanding we want our meetings to be productive meetings where we go forward, even if it's just to debate a question. Perhaps not a question we want to debate, but at some point you have to close that question out. And sometimes it takes some time. I understand that. But there's something unforeseeable in all that. I get that. Councillor Patricia Brooke-Chevalier. Thank you. Yes, Your Worship. Petitions, applications, and other delegations. We're adding presentations by organizations or whatever. Is there a time limit that we're giving?
C'est une gestion
That's
de
management.
combien lourd que l'agenda
It depends on how heavy the agenda would be. We see that the agenda can allow more than one or more than two. When the agenda is prepared, normally,
par exemple, la réunion ce soir,
so for example, tonight's meeting,
l'ordre du jour, on a
the agenda, we anticipated that it was only going to last 45 minutes. We were anticipating a long meeting, actually, with the points on the agenda. We wouldn't have accepted it, probably, or we'd push it to the next meeting, or we'd find a later moment where that person could come present. If you have 15 minutes for questions for the public, yes, it's basically to look at having some flexibility as to when you put it in. Obviously, the busy agenda, nobody wants to be here until midnight or 1 a.m. The meeting starts at 6. Oh, there's something to that. 3.5 hours, where the interest starts to get lost. But in this bylaw, if I'm not mistaken, Your Worship, putting a maximum of 180 or 3 hours. 180 minutes or 3 hours. Number 10. So, subject to decision, unless a 2/3 vote, you cannot continue the meeting beyond 9 o'clock. We close it out at 9 o'clock unless there's a 2/3 majority that says, yes, we will continue. It'll be just another half hour or something, where something would be almost done. If we see that it's going to go for another 2 hours or so, we might say no. It'd be up to the council. Thank you. Councillor Joël Després. Thank you, Your Worship. That was my question for 9 o'clock. Oh, great. Next. To clarify, it's what's on the agenda. Does it go to the next one? Yes. So that's not in there. That's in the Code Marin by rules. Any item that wasn't covered will be, there's a provision in Code Marin. And if I might speak to the Code Marin, we've always used the Code Marin. We know it well. The challenge that we have, it's not translated to English. So for elected officials who are Anglophone, it's hard to get a copy. English speakers, English-speaking municipalities use Robert's Rules of Order. It's not translated into French. It's not the standard. So there's a possibility that we'd look at a new option. Some municipalities are using the Burina code. Sylvain and myself don't know it. We don't know it as well anyway. Long term, we need to look at options. It was good when we were all francophones, but now they have bilingual members. It would be good that everyone could have a version. And there are limits related to the Code Marin around that for the moment. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you, Your Worship. I have some concerns around questions from the public, more or less the same things that people were saying around the table. If you have 6 people in the room, it's not many people who want to speak, and it takes 5 minutes for one and 10 minutes for the other. That means those 2 people took up all the time. The 4 others who might come, it might cause some frustration in the room. My recommendation would be not to have that and find another system. That's what I think. Based on what we were told last week, I was for a question period. I even mentioned it to somebody, but after having heard that, I'm not so sure. Thank you. Councillor Jean-Denis Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to table that bylaw so that staff can work a bit more, work their magic on the citizens section. Right now, I don't have the motion on the table. I've allowed you to have questions for clarifications. Oh, we should have stopped you. Oh, I know. But we could put the motion on the table and you can table it afterwards. 2 more. And after that, we'll go to the motion. Councillor Emile O'Brien. Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm trying to absorb what's being said here. There's a lot. No problem. Item 13 in our current agenda. Request for information from council members. As I understand it, that becomes Article 9 in the new agenda. Bingo. So so could we, you'll be allowed to do more than just questions. Basically, right now, at number 13, questions from council members. If somebody wants to make a comment to congratulate someone, that's not a question. I should tell you, oh, it's too bad you can't speak. So I've allowed some latitude on that front. This will allow you that latitude to make a statement, congratulate the Lobster Festival, mid-July, whatever else, or in September. But you can also ask questions that is specified under 19. No, it's in there. I have to find it. So going forward with that agenda, so the questions that were sent would be there. Even if somebody has somebody else about whatever, we still do it there. Yes, exactly. In different words, yes. So those are two assemblies. There's one agenda for each meeting. It's the same thing. We looked at having a different one. We decided to scrap that and just have one. Thank you. The mayor gave the example. A few meetings ago, you wanted to congratulate firefighters. You did it under 13, but it shouldn't really have gone there. But there's no real place in the agenda either for it. That's why that item 13, it will allow you to make comments like that. Oh, you accommodated that for me. Well, not just you, many people. Also, under that item, council members would decide, I want to give you a notice of motion because there was no spot in the agenda for that. So we put it specifically under 11, notice of motion. It clarifies things a bit, at least.
Sounds good.
It's good.
Councillor McElroy.
Councillor McElroy.
Thanks, Mayor. Just another point, which I stand to be corrected if I'm missing something, but for people who pre-register and want to come and make a presentation, they're limited to 5 minutes, maximum of 2 people, 5 minutes each.
If you could be one person or you could be max, like we don't want 7 people, but each group has 5 minutes.
Okay, whether it's one person or 2.
Yes.
Each councillor has 5 minutes.
Yes.
Per meeting, yes. For in number 9.
The public question period is 15 minutes.
Total.
One person can get 15 minutes.
If they hog the mic, so to speak, yes. Yeah. Theoretically possible.
There's something wrong with that picture.
I know what you mean.
If everybody is controlled to 5 minutes, except someone who walks in off the feet and decides I'm going to talk until the cows come home.
Yeah.
They've got 15,
buzzer sounds.
They've got 15 minutes. That's not logical to me. I think there needs to be some consistency in how this is managed. And to leave it to the chair, sometimes it's tough. Unless you have a sergeant at arms or something, you're going to run into some situations where it's going to be difficult. And you know
I've had
well.
to do that a few times.
Yeah. So personally, I think we need to do a little work on it.
On that part.
So if I understand correctly, so the question period is the major one that needs clarification. Other than that, are there any other modifications or changes? Because if everything is correct, my recommendation would be, because you can make modifications to a bylaw before 3rd reading. So my recommendation would be that council does 1st and 2nd reading tonight by title. Before the next meeting, we would make the changes pertaining to the question period on the agenda. And then council could adopt the amended bylaw at its 3rd reading when at the next meeting.
At least it wouldn't slow the procedure down in terms of we only have a certain number of meetings left. And if we can't get it done, we have to have a special meetings just for just to get some stuff over the finish line before the election. Sounds decent? All right. Conseiller Janice Cormier, tu voulais faire la lecture?
Oui, s'il
Janice
vous plaît.
Cormier, would you like to read it? Yes, please.
Qu'il soit résolu que le
Be it
débat
resolved
intitulé
that the
Arrêté
filing of
numéro
bylaw
3,
number 3, a procedural bylaw of the town of Shediac, be approved and read a first time by its title. I so move. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau.
Tous en faveur, on dit
All those in favor shall say aye.
contre, non.
Contrary minded, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried.
Monsieur le greffier,
Mr. Clerk,
salut. Le micro.
I'll turn on your mic. Procedural bylaw number 003, procedural bylaw of the municipal council of the town of Shediac. Be it resolved that we accept the first reading of bylaw number 3 by its title. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. All those in favor shall say aye.
Contre, non.
Contrary minded, nay.
Adopté. Merci. Conseiller Cormier.
Motion carried. Councillor Cormier.
Deuxième.
Second one. It doesn't stop moving. That's weird. Be it resolved that bylaw number 3, a procedural bylaw of the town of Shediac, be read a second time by its title. I so move, your worship. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. All those in favor shall say aye. Those who are opposed shall say no. Motion carried. Mr. Clerk, bylaw number 3, procedural bylaw for the municipal council of the town of Shediac. Be it resolved that we accept the second reading of bylaw number 3 by its title. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. And next, well, it's not the third, but it would be for publication. Go ahead, Councillor Cormier. Be it resolved that bylaw number 3 be read by way of summary instead of in its entirety is permitted by. Well, stop doing that. It's moving. As permitted by section 15.3 of the Local Governance Act. Sorry. Be it resolved that bylaw number 3 be read by way of summary instead of in its entirety as permitted by section 15.3 of the Local Governance Act. Be it also resolved that the draft bylaw be published on our website twice in 2 consecutive weeks, and that a copy also be available for consultation at Shediac Town Hall as permitted by section 15.3 of the Local Governance Act. I so move, your worship. Moved by Councillor Cormier.
T'étais slow sur le piton, conseiller Boudreau. Tous en faveur en diront oui. Contre, non. Adopté.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Merci pour la discussion.
Thank you for that discussion.
Conseiller Paul Boudreau.
Councillor Paul Boudreau, a clarification.
Et la prochaine réunion.
The third is for the next meeting. No problem. Thank you. We'll make the necessary changes. We'll make the changes, and then we'll see. Number 14.4, Ethics Code. It's an update. The existing bylaw does not meet the new provincial regulation. We had to make modifications to the code of conduct to ensure that it is in line with the provisions of the provincial regulation. There are many things that we were doing that are in the regulation, but some things we didn't take into account. So the bylaw that would be proposing meets the requirements of the regulation, but a lot of the language in there, it's the same language as that you would see in the regulation. Now we'll quickly present the bylaw. You haven't seen it, although you did get it this weekend, to share some of the highlights. So we added a values section, values that are there. That's the language that is found mostly in the regulations. By regulation, we mean the provincial regulation. The provincial regulations. Yes. In terms of, generally speaking, there are provisions, specific provisions that don't cover the regulation. It's how a council will behave around social media in terms of its communication.
How a council council will behave once they use like the assets of the municipality in interaction with the public. So there are some specific questions like with some points, but the generalities, like these were only points that were part of the regulation that were not specific to a specific thing. So they are included in general communications. Well, very close to what we have previously, but there is a paragraph highlighted in yellow saying like members of council must refrain from disclosing or making like a declaration that is false, and if they're omitting also like an important fact that became 6.5. So it's a language that is part of the regulation, and it's not. It was not in our policy 8. Well, it's the same section was the sections that was asked by the regulation, and this section was added like to the bylaw. If we continue to the remuneration expansion, there is a section that was added that to make to claim like an application for remuneration reimbursement, where we already received like money from another organization. You cannot be remunerated twice or to have two accounts for two different organizations. So the example that comes to mind is more like for the Regional Service Commission or a committee where your remuneration is offered. Other question to accept like gifts and hospitality is a question that's required according to the Act. And also, so the one we spend a lot of time, like it was how a complaint is processed. Because in the regulation or currently, how the complaint process is better like detailed in the regulation, like a formal complaint request, like the proposed language is quite standard, except we are proposing that it would be a small committee that would process like those requests versus the council. It would be a committee of 3 to maybe investigate the complaint. If the complaint needs to be investigated by the council itself, or if the council would like to hire an investigator, like for any reason, well, that can be done too. As for the formal complaint process, so the language is very like close to the regulation. So the question of the committee, so we saw like it's a formula that the council could use. For the informal complaint, well, we understand that sometimes there are some situations that can happen and they have to be addressed. So what we are proposing in the bylaw was written, I think we still have to do some modifications, Sylvain. The informal complaint process. So the informal is the right version, very similar to what we had previously. But we have to make like the individual who are submitted the complaint or who saw like an infraction to the code, violation of the code, the person has to address it directly to the appointed individual. Let's say I have a councillor, a council member, and I saw the clerk do something that would be go against the code, like invite or another council member, like and the clerk. So the informal complaint, I have to address it directly with the members. I noticed in meeting you made some comments and these were false and whatever it would be, like either like the first contact, like member to member. If the member does not feel comfortable, it could be also accompanied by the mayor or the deputy mayor if they want. If the mayor or deputy mayor cannot be involved, they could bring someone else to address this complaint. So that would be like the first process, like let's say like groups from outside would like to submit a complaint. So it becomes difficult to process this component. So a group that would say like to a council member like that in violation with the code, automatically it would then the formal complaint would start. So the formal complaint process would deal with this complaint either by the investigator or the committee. One thing that's interesting in this in the bylaw, there is a language like if the complaint is not receivable, this complaint is unfounded, that the committee or investigator could say like there's no merit to this. I'm looking at this and we're going to dismiss this complaint. And the investigator and committee has this power that was added to the regulation that wasn't there. When there was a request previously, it had to be processed, but now there is a disposition. If there's an unfounded complaint, there's a mechanism in place like on how to deal with it. So you see there's a lot of yellow in the formal complaint process because the regulation steered us in that direction, and the corrective measures, I would see like all the measures, corrective measures, is the language word for word that is in the regulation. Maybe previously you might have seen a language that was to give a verbal apologies or written apologies, anything, any other disposition like that the council can give. So it's more specific that one can be given. And it could lead to a suspension of a council member, like a suspension of privileges. So the language is very well, gives the powers of the council. And also it gives a regulation that was added like within the bylaw. And there's always like the matter of conflict of interest. And usually like it could lead to a similar violation. So we recommend, because within the regulation, a councillor like is saying, confirm that he will follow like the disposition, no conflict of interest. So we want to go a step further. So at the assermentation, the councillor must give in writing, receive like a copy of Part 8 of the Local Governance Act that confirm that he will follow and that he read the dispositions on Section 8 of the conflict of interest. So there is no ambiguity. Say yes at the sworn-in process, it will be added because the regulation said he has to be made aware. But if there's uncertainties, so we want to make it more official through a confirmation letter that he received this. It's one of the changes we are proposing in this regulation. That's more than a regulation. And of course, it will be like in place like with the new council on June 1st to start the I will allow some questions, but we'll put the motion on the table. Just the first one. Mrs. Deputy Mayor, thank you. The Code of Ethics, like bylaw 64, be it resolved that the bylaw number 64, a bylaw on the Code of Ethics of the town of Shediac, be authorized, and that this bylaw be done by its first right, by its title, moved by Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Janice Cormier. Councillor Paul Boudreau, yes, you were the first one. And yeah, bravo, great work that was done also. Just to be clear, like the complaint process like at 9. So what we are proposing, you cannot do like an anonymous complaint. So it's very clear. So thank you. And I'm a bit confused. Like earlier, like Peter referred to the consultant, like with the consultant, the session for new elected officials. So in this document, the workload is what you make it for a council member. I just want to read it very quickly.
Newsletter, blog, social media posts.
Put out like newsletter, blogs, and social social media. So the code of ethics does not allow to be like the spokesperson of the town. I think what he put there is not what we should do. It goes in the other direction. So I'm not sure why, like he told us like we can't go on social media, Facebook and all of those and give news to it's against our code of ethics. It's very clear right said it's not what we should do. So these are two different things. These are two completely to be the official spokesperson. Well, it's to be the media. They want to know like the opinion of the municipality, like on a specific file. So the mayor would be the official spokesperson. So there's nothing currently that stops you. I saw a couple of council members do it. To give an example, so this evening, let's say like you would have to give a grant to an organization and you want to congratulate the group. You were very happy to support it. This is a public information and it was shared during resolution. You're not the official spokesperson because you did not say any private information or privileged information. So it's information that was already public that you shared. What it does not allow you to do is to share some information that could lead the people to a mistake, that could also like maybe like tarnish the image of a municipality. I'm going to give you like an example. A decision from the council was voted unanimously by a vote of majority. So once it's adopted, it's seen as being accepted by the whole council. Even if you're against, you cannot go after the meeting trying to say, well, I did not agree, I cannot, I believe like this councillor like said the specific thing, go see the report. So that would lead to, so it would be close to a violation of the code. So I saw like, thank you. I saw that with the social media. To share, like sharing good news is always good. Councillor Emile O'Brien. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As for like I saw this, like it has to be part of the town's bylaw, but for informal complaint, like I think it's not clear. And I think it's important to mention like on an informal complaint, like there's nothing that says create no like anonymous formal complaint process where it's not written, no. Did it change like this part or? The text itself is similar. It's a little bit different. So it's a question I had and I mentioned it. I just see it at the same time as you. But it's something that if something to make it clearer, well, it's what you're looking for, maybe? So what I'm looking for, I found like the informal format, a person who is making like a complaint, like it shouldn't be anonymous. Currently, like that's where like I mentioned like a question from Councillor Boudreau. Essentially, like I mentioned, if a council member or even a member of the administration sees like a violation of the code, it has to be addressed like between the member or the administration member with the member. So I assume if it would be like a member of the administration, the mayor or deputy mayor would play a role. Like so there's no anonymity. Let's say like a citizen would like to submit a complaint and it falls directly like to the formal process, and then like the formal process says that the name of the members like concerned by the member. I saw like a person X like in violation of. It has to be dated and signed by an identifiable individual. Like a person where filing the complaint has to identify himself or herself. A complaint that does not have this component becomes unreceivable, so that it could be rejected because because it does not identify this person. Having a complaint that is not signed or identified, like formal, I'm all for it. Like informal, because it's like a crossover, like informal, like they were looking for the rules of the formal for an informal complaint. From what I saw, if it's a council member that believes like another council member is in violation of just talk to him, the person can do this. But if the person does not want to do it, he can ask the mayor to participate like in an informal discussion with the member concerning like the alleged complaint, like of the accused, let's say. So that's something they can do.
No.
I would not allow, like, it cannot be anonymous. We clarify this also in paragraph B. Because it includes one member talking to another member. Unless you have a paper bag on your head, like, I would recommend also in a similar context, like would be up to the article B, 11(1)B, to ask the mayor to participate in the informal discussion with the member concerning the alleged complaint, and also the member also who made the complaint. Essentially, you are gathering 3 individuals, so we could add maybe a language, something specific to clarify this, so it wouldn't be done anonymously. So informal does not allow like the informal process, or does not authorize the diffusion of an allegation to the council by email. So informal has to be announced to council member. I'm not sure about that part. Shouldn't happen. So it has to be dealt with privately. Like if you have a complaint against me, I would like to know who would make it, and I don't want everyone to know. Like so, I'm allowed to state my opinion, saying, "Well, I understand this. Understand with the entire council, like be made aware. No, not made aware. So if there's a complaint against any council member, so it's done like we identify with the person who wrote the code of conduct. So the informal process is seen as does not go like to the council. So the council should not even be informed unless there's a formal complaint submitted. So maybe to clarify this language. Technically, we could remove like the informal complaint, just go with the formal complaint. My recommendation would be against it, because there's a lot of complaint or accusation that could be solved between the members without bringing them to the council. I'll tell you, like the Commissioner for Local Governance came out with a determination on how the complaint should be processed, and the complaint should be processed publicly by the council. If there is a specific accusation, it's not like an in-camera session. It's a public process. If you have 20 like these, and we're talking about the procedural bylaws and the files we need to process, there need to be a mechanism like for the to declare them like unreceivable. But some discussion can be held. But if a discussion, like maybe you said a comment you did not realize, and another member mentioned it to you and saying, "Oh," and I would say like I didn't realize the impact, but so when I made my report, like I will not submit like apologies to my behavior like at the next meeting, for it could be done. It's not a long process, but you know you're right, and when we're solving this problem without a formal process that will expand the process. Like that's why like a formal and informal process exists that will allow like a quick resolution of a problem. After all of this, it means like it would have to be rewarded like informal. I could add a question, either like maybe item 11B. I could add like that the member who are reporting the violation has to be part of the meeting.
Makes better sense. So
in this case, like the mayor would act as some kind of mediator. The mayor or deputy mayor. Sounds good. Okay. Councillor Peterborough, thank you. It's only a sentence that confused me. Section A. So when we say it has to be dated and signed by identified individuals, so I think it should be signed by the individuals who are filing the complaint, because if someone would like to do like do an anonymous complaint, like an individual can bring it and sign it, and that could be accepted according to what they say. With the individuals that did the complaint, but there's an identified individuals could bring an anonymous complaint and sign the complaint, and it would still go through. As long as you can identify this individual, I think it should be signed what the individual who filed the complaint. So there would be no ambiguity. So we can change this language. Thank you. We could say like the person must date and sign the complaint. Like so you're good. I have one for the administration. As for the corrective measures, so there's a list like starting from 13. The definitive expulsion of other than the council members or the clerk. So this one here, my understanding, it's a code of ethics that would apply to the council members, so it does not apply to the staff. Not to the administration, does not apply to the public. How can you expel like someone from the meeting chamber other than a council member? And honestly, like, so it's part of the act. And I may add, like, something that I'm not following, but but you have to look at, there's a train and there are some cabooses. In the procedural bylaw, it mentions that we have to follow like some kind of decorum, like the members have to follow a decorum. So we're not talking a verbal apology, so the language changed a little bit. So there are some disposition that has to be followed in the code of conduct to allow like the chair of the assembly to give a sanction, and this part here, like we put it there, so you can expel someone like who's showing like a behavior that's not acceptable. It can't be the clerk. It cannot be like because we need a clerk like to hold a meeting. It could be like a member of the public. It could be a member of the administration that is showing. So it just gives like the power to the main and the mayor or the chair of the assembly to do it. So I would see it like in the procedural bylaw. So that's why it's not mentioned like in the procedural bylaw. We just change the language on this one. So it's not a requirement in the procedural bylaw. It's a requirement of the code of conduct. Just to keep a little bit of control. And I understand like.
Monsieur Gravier.
No, je disais juste que c'est vraiment une disposition.
I'm saying it's really like a disposition of the code of conduct, not necessarily the procedural bylaw. So when we read the act, like there's a question of decorum and behavior could involve a member of the council who decide to act like to behave in a way that is out of the ordinary. But the chair of the assembly could ask like to expel that member.
Donc, le greffier.
And right now, so the clerk cannot be expelled because, yes, because Mr. Mayor, you do need a clerk like to hold a meeting. I think when I was reading first, like I understand as the chair of the meeting, like not something more to do, but this an individual is really like is disruptive. Well, you say, well, I'm sorry, we'll have to read the room. I thought it was a good tool. I think it's extreme, but should not be used like in a normal way. But I don't think it's a tool from the code of conduct. But we just had it there because we had nowhere else to put it. Okay.
Merci bien.
Thank you. On this note, so we have the same as we said for the procedural bylaw. So we'll do those tweakings for the third reading, but we have our first two readings this evening. The first motion was moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Carried.
Madame la maire Espion.
Mrs. Deputy Mayor.
Monsieur Greffier, excuse.
Mr. Clerk, sorry.
I jumped the gun.
Yeah, he's jumping the gun. Mr. Mayor wants to go to bylaw number 64, a bylaw from TREDAC on the code of conduct. Be it resolved that we accept the first reading of 64 by its title. Moved by Sylvie Colette Boudreau, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Chaman Gallant. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay.
Adopté.
Carried. Be it resolved that the bylaw number 6, a code of conduct bylaw of the town of Shediac be read the second time by title. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councilor Chaman Gallant. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried. A bylaw concerning the code of conduct. Be it resolved that we accept like the bylaw number 64 by its title. I shall move. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councilor Chaman Gallant. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay.
Adopté.
It's been carried. Mr. Mayor, if you allow me, as you propose, we will ask to table it. We'll finish our two readings. Yeah, she said I jumped the gun. The only thing like to avoid like integral study to read. Oh, sorry. Be it resolved that we proceed like with the summary instead of she's saying like her screen is moving, I think. That we proceed with a summary instead of an integral. Instead of its section 15.3 of the Local Governance Act. Be it also resolved that the draft bylaw be published on our website twice in 2 consecutive weeks, and that a copy also be available for consultation at the Shediac Town Hall as permitted by section 15.3 of the Local Governance Act. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councilor Chaman Gallant. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay.
Adopté.
Carried. Thank you. The last bylaw, remuneration of council members. So this is the shortest one of the 3. So essentially, like we're proposing no changes like to the remuneration of elected officials. We think like the exercise done by the council in the local governance reform was a very good process. So we would recommend like no change to the remuneration of elected officials, but we recommend the addition of 2 dispositions to the bylaw that will allow like a greater flexibility to the council if the council would like to give
an indemnity,
like an indemnity, like for for transportation fees and the cell phone. So the council can continue to just put zero or add it to the budget process if they wanted to proceed with this modification. And the language we are using in the bylaw is the same as the one we use in the policy for this specific section. So it allows like this possible expense. So that's how we would recommend. Councilor Jeanne, you would like to read it? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recommendation, bylaw number 2. Be it resolved that a bylaw number 2, a bylaw on the remuneration of council, the town of Shediac be authorized, and that this bylaw be read as first title by title. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councilor Janice Cormier, seconded by Germaine Galland. Questions on the motion? Was the simplest one. All in favor, think by saying aye. Against, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Bylaw, a bylaw on the remuneration of mayors and councillors of the town of Shediac. Be it resolved that we accept the bylaw by its title. Moved by Councillor Janice Galland. Janice Galland. Janice Cormier. Seconded by Councillor
Well, they got it.
Ça m'arrive des fois après une
It happens sometimes towards the end of the night. Second reading. All those in favor shall say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carried. Councillor Cormier, be it resolved that bylaw number 2 be read a second time by its title. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. All those in favor shall say aye. Those who are opposed, no. Mr. Clerk, on motion carried. Bylaw number 2, a bylaw respecting the remuneration of the mayor and councillors for the town of Shediac. Councillor Cormier, be it resolved that we accept the second reading by its title. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Galland. All those for shall say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Lastly, be it resolved that we do a summary reading as allowed by Section 15.3 of the law on local governance. Be it also further resolved that we published the proposed bylaw on our website twice for 2 weeks, 2 consecutive weeks, and the copy be also available to be consulted at the Shediac Town Hall as allowed by Section 15.3 of the law on local governance. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Galland. All those in favor shall say aye. Those who are opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. There's just 7 motions remaining. So 15.3 debentures. This will be Mr. CAO. I will present it. If Madam Treasurer and Director of Finance want to say more, we've received authorization to borrow money for a project. Normally, when we have that authorization, we seek out some interim funding. We do take up the project once the project is done, and we have paid the last invoices and the last bills. We convert that amount into a debenture. We're allowed to do that twice a year, in the fall and in the spring. We try to have the spring period with the request to convert this amount as part of a debenture during the springtime period. So I'll allow the finance director to share which project it's related to, for which we're seeking to convert that sum. The finance director, Monica, the project in questions were expanding the fire hall. We're seeking $7,090,000. That was covered by Canada Community Development, the gas tax. We received $3.5 million for that. The storm sewer project, $1.37 million. So we're seeking to finance that project. Calder Street, there were 2 sections, transportation and water, $1.5 million approximately, transportation, 573,000 for water, and finally, improvements to the water treatment phase one. Those were the UV filters that we added to $804,000 loan. We are then seeking Councillor Patricia Brooke-Cheverry, you want to read it? Debentures. Be it resolved that the clerk, the treasurer, or the mayor be authorized to issue and sell to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation a 11 $11,146,000 debenture from the municipality of Shediac, according to the conditions stipulated by the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation. Be it also resolved that the town of Shediac issue post-dated checks to the order of the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation upon request to pay the principal and interest on the debenture. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Patricia Brooke-Cheverry, seconded by Councillor Joël Després. I have a question. Yes, question? So the gas tax. It was over a period of 5 years. There's an accounting entry for us to cover it. We have to borrow the money before. We don't have all of the amounts yet. It requires a little bit of gymnastics, but we worked with the Department of Local Governments on the procedure that we have to follow in such a case, and this is the recommended way to go forward. That's great. Thank you very much. Great. Councillor Joël Després. A question? Thank you, Your Worship. Is it one of these projects that we made a request for 1.5 million and that wasn't accepted? Was this for this project? I can't answer that, but basically we received the authorization to borrow the amounts. Until we're converting it to a debenture, it might not be the same decree. If I'm not mistaken, Madam Finance Director, it might be several decrees. We're just looking to combine it in one request. Yes. This is 3 different decrees that will become one debenture. But to answer Mr. Després, the 1.5 million, do you mean like a grant from the government? Didn't we asked for it? I thought there was a presentation. It was for a certain amount for the project. I don't think it's this one. It was on King Street. In South Cove. It's not that one. No, it's not these ones. Oh, I think that you're referring here to the one for the Main Street project, the Main Street project. It's not this one at all. That we've received the authorization to do financing, to do the project using financing. But the procedure will be that we will pay the bills when they come in, but we can make requests to be reimbursed to the province. We can be reimbursed these amounts that will basically reduce the cost that we will convert into a debenture, but we still need the approval to borrow the full amount because there's interim financing. We do need to pay the bills before we are reimbursed. Very good. For those 3 are related to the expansion of the fire hall. One is related to the Calder Street project, and the other one is for improving the water treatment. You see in the decree there are 3, 2500 28. It's all the same thing. It's all the same project. That conversion of the project that you were referring to will happen in a few years. It won't be this year. This is always after the fact when you see debentures. Everything is done. Thank you. Great. So, that having been said, all those in favor shall say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Number 15.2, grant. That's me, Your Worship. Basically, we've received 5 or 6 different requests for grants from various groups. There are 4 that we deemed that we could cover internally based on the policies in place. In particular, the Fry Festival, the Greater Moncton Music Festival, We will cover them within budgets that allow us to do that. The Probus as well, it was an organization that had asked to celebrate their 10th anniversary, and the event called the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride shall receive a small grant based on the internal criteria. However, there are two other requests that we cannot process internally within existing internal programs. One is a request from the Flying Boat Historical Society. It is for $4,000. You have the documents in your kit. And the other one is the Logos Christian Daycare. They are requesting $5,000 to purchase educational material. Those two requests we're suggesting that be treated in turn within the grant program, grants to organizations program. There's a certain amount that was deemed discretionary for the council, so the council could treat such requests over the year. And as we assess those requests, we deemed that an amount of $2,500 would be more in line with other grant applications that we have granted that are of a similar nature, and we recommend $2,500 for each of those organizations. Based in terms of, for that, I would need a motion. Councillor Joel Dupré, 15.2 grants. Be it resolved that this council approve the administration's recommendation to award grants to the Flying Boat Historical Society and to Logos Christian Daycare in the amount of $2,500 each. Be it further resolved that the Fry Festival, the Greater Moncton Music Festival, the Probus, and the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride receive financial assistance for their respective events. I so moved by Councillor Joel Dupré, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette-Boudreau. Any questions? Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. I think I've got the answer, but I want to confirm the Logos Christian Daycare. That's a non-profit daycare, correct? Yes. Thank you. Councillor Paul Boudreau. Yes, it's basically in the same vein. Are we going to create precedent by offering grants to daycares? There are many in Shediac. I was looking at the criteria for grants. Offering an accessible service to all of the population of Shediac at a modest price. How will the population of Shediac have access to this program if we're providing grant? All are the residents in town who will benefit. It's our residents, it's our young residents who are receiving daycare services to all of the population. I'm supporting it, but I'm afraid that will create a precedent. Like looking at how many daycares there are in Shediac, 10 or so. It's a non-profit. How did you make this decision? It was a recommendation from Community Life.
Okay.
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 Okay. We'll vote. I'll support it. Thank you, Councillor Boudreau. It's a good question, nonetheless. Madam Deputy Mayor, thank you, Your Worship. There's one of the requests that we're treating, the bulk request, the additional one, the Fry Festival and the Music Festival. I don't want to I'd seen the date where they needed it by. Now it's April 7th. In terms of will the notification that they've been granted it, will they receive it soon? We told them that we would be dealing with this at this meeting tonight and that they have an answer tomorrow morning. Oh, thank you. Councillor Miller Bryant. Thank you, Your Worship. Is the Logos Christian Daycare? Is that the one on the former Central School? Yes. If we give them money, can you make it conditional that they change the signage to being bilingual? It's in English only. There's a linguistic policy that provides financial incentives
Pour aider à mettre
des-
to help
enseignants
to
bilingues.
put up bilingual signage.
Si je me trompe pas, il n'y a
If I'm
pas
not mistaken, there's no
à
requirement
le faire
to do so
vu de la municipalité.
from a municipal viewpoint to do it in both official languages. As you would see in Dieppe,
On avait donné 20 000 pièces.
we gave $20,000 to them already. It was the former seniors club. A few years ago, they made a renovation to accommodate the daycare. We provided $20,000 at that time. It was a few years ago.
Au niveau de l'enseigne,
But in terms of the sign, we don't
n'a pas le cadre législatif qui
have the legislative framework to force that. No, it's just to add. I understand your question, but I will support the request nonetheless. Thank you, Councillor O'Brien.
Councillor Janice Cormier.
Councillor Janice Cormier. I just want to mention that daycare is the only one in town that is non-profit. The other ones, all the other ones are for-profit daycares. I can't answer that question. I don't have. We're not sure of that for sure. We know that one definitely is. If there are others that aren't, I think it's the only one.
Councillor McEnroy.
Councillor McEnroy.
I guess the religious denomination and the ownership of the daycare by the Logos Global Missions Church, I will have to trust staff. I guess they've checked these the owner's organization out, the Logos Global Missions Church, and when you get specific denominational grants. You kind of wonder whether you're setting a precedent. I think I'm somewhat uneasy with the religious affiliation, if you will, but I'll trust staff on this one this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Boudreau.
Councillor Paul Boudreau. Should we ask staff after to assess grants just exactly to schools or religious groups? I just want to to be sure that we're managing the money, our money. I'd be worried in terms of what we're giving to whom. I trust that staff in 1 month, 2 months, and 3 months, they'll provide some recommendations that's related to sensitive groups like this one. It's not our role to provide grants. We already give to the various schools and the Shediac schools, Shediac Cape School as well. And now to provide equipment to daycare. Where do we stop? Eventually, with such a motion to mandate staff to really look at what we can do, put the emphasis on the director. With that, listen, you're raising a good point, but if I'm not mistaken, there's an axis under development on the strategic plan to relook at that. Internally, we're looking at a process. How do we manage all of those applications and requests? I can tell you that since I've been here, there's no structure where you deal with an application at such a period of time, trying to bring organizations such that they're more automatic as in terms of when they put in an application, and also structure when they'll get an answer. The last thing that we would like to see is that in terms of, as we seek efficiencies, that there are applications that you can treat administratively, but other applications that to be treated by the council. We don't want at all council meetings. I've already seen a first draft on this, but there's more work to be done such that we can align ourselves and better meet the community needs. So far, right now, we're doing the REC master plan. We're doing accreditation of organizations. These are developments that are part of strategic plan. This is a component that aligns with our strategic plan. They'll come back, it'll be with the new council, but we're already working on it right now. We come back to, I come back before council for a $50 request. Thank you very much, Yves. So, all those in favor shall say aye. Those who are opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. 15.3, a purchase of a hybrid SUV. The three next items, it will be with one of our directors, Mr. Duclos. Thank you very much, Your Worship. The purchase of the hybrid SUV, just to give you some background on that, in the 5-year plan, we're planning this year to replace a pickup truck for public works. We looked at that, a bit into that, and we saw an opportunity to save some money as part of the 5-year plan. We have a truck, a staff truck that we use. We need a vehicle, but it doesn't need to be a truck. So we looked at transferring the staff truck to public works and to purchase a plug-in hybrid vehicle for staff that would be better aligned with our net zero vision. Also, the first vision that is an electric vehicle that we buy as a town. So we propose that we go forward with a hybrid SUV rather than a full-size truck. Great. So there were 2 submissions. We went with the lowest submission. There we went to 4 or 5 dealers, and we only received 2 prices. So we ran around quite a bit for prices. So I would need somebody to read the motion. Councillor Joël Després, 15.3, purchase of a hybrid SUV. Be it resolved to award contract TS26-Q06 for the purchase of a plug-in hybrid SUV to the lowest price, Richard Buckdale Ford, for a value of $43,670.29, including net HST. The funds will come from the Capital Projects Equipment TP account, of which $68,250 is identified in the budget. I so move, and I have a question following that, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Deputy Mayor Silvio Cordero. Question, Mr. Després, where this vehicle will be parked at Town Hall? Do we have the plug-in here? We will install it. Oh, I'm going far here. How much does it cost for those plugins? It depends. There's different models that we're studying. We're looking at all options. There are partnerships with various providers, like we have the Lobster at the Veterans Park as well, looking at various models, but we don't have a specific answer in terms of how we will cover the charger question for as of yet. That's a good question. And no more questions. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary, those who are opposed, no. Motion carried. 15.4, purchase of a Chevrolet truck. The Chevrolet truck is for the rec department. It was also in the 5-year plan that needed to be replaced this year. For that one, we didn't have any other trucks to shift to the rec department. So this would be a new truck. Again, we went to see 3 dealerships, and Chevrolet won with the lowest price. Great. 15.4, purchase of Chevrolet truck. Be resolved to award contract TS26Q-Q04 for the purchase of a 4-door half-ton truck to the lowest bidder, Seaside Chevrolet, for a value of $59,811.82, including net HST. The funds will come from the recreation equipment budget. An amount of $73,000 remains in the budget. I so move, and I have a question. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Question to Councillor Després. Are we putting $73,000 on the truck for equipment? No, that was the initial budget. We got a good price, basically. We're just buying for less than what was budgeted. That's great. Thank you. Sounds good.
Good job.
Good job. Thank you. All those in favor shall say aye. Those who are opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Number 15.5, Cornwall Road, Culvert, Mr. Duclos. Before I enter into the context for the Cornwall Road, as you may have remarked, it's in the 5-year plan for 2027. Right now, just to explain how we're operating at staff level, once we go past the budget season, the engineering department, that's where it starts. We align with all our projects coming up for the summer season. We don't have much time to add all of our projects to go through the design phase, to get projects ready, to send to our bidders to go into construction next year. What we're proposing with this one is that we'd like to move ahead to have projects shovel ready, projects that we know that are coming up for the next year or 2 years, that we will start the engineering work to be ready once the budget period comes up. A few advantages associated with that. First of all, it will give us some time to apply for some grants. When we have a shovel-ready project, you have a lot better chance of getting grants and money for our projects. We can align better with markets as well. The best time to be aligned with NBON or to request costs for construction is in December, January. As it stands, it's very difficult to be ready in December, January to arrive first on the market. So it would allow us to be in advance there as well. And it would also allow us to have more accurate budgets around the budget period. So all our designs would be done, we know exactly how much it will cost. So with that in mind, we're proposing to go forward with the engineering work for the culvert on Cornwall Road. This is a project that we've identified on the stormwater management plan. It is a high priority one. We know that the Cornwall Road culvert has to be replaced in the next few years. So we're going to go forward and start the engineering to have that project shovel ready so that in 2027 we'll be ready to ask at the right time to get the best prices possible to go forward with construction. We've sent that project to NBON. We received 7 prices. That one required a lot of time. There was a lot of, many companies were interested. We expanded our range of consultants. So the memo that we prepared for you, you see the chart and how we assessed it. Please forgive me in advance. It's 300 pages, but the top one is the most important. There's a little summary, and we're proposing that we go forward with EXP that showed that they're the winners for that project. If you'll allow to add an amount in the budget to do projects for next year. It's not a new expense. It's an amount that's budgeted within the budget process. Great. Thank you. Councillor Janice Cormier, would you like to read it? Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council accept the administration's recommendation to award the contract to the company EXP for an amount of $193,710.60 plus HST, and that the sum comes from the I-2A305 Special Projects Engineering account for the next following year. I so move. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Joël Després. Any questions on this one? Councillor Paul Boudreau. Is that the culvert that's next to Beauséjour? Cornwall, it goes up to the shore. There's 2 or 3 rivers that cross it. Is it the first one? The big one? It's 87 Cornwall is the address, I believe. It's the big culvert that we worked on about 10 years ago. We did some work to repair it, but it's due to be changed. Okay, so you don't have an estimate. I see 200,000 just for engineering. You have an estimate in terms of the cost to do the work. The cost for works be $800,000 and $900,000 probably for that culvert. Oh yes, I would have thought more. Count yourself lucky. Okay, thank you very much, Fred. So, I see no more questions. All those in favor shall say aye. Those who are opposed shall say nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Number 15.6, Memorandum of Understanding, Ohio Place Development. I will give the floor to the manager of economic development and tourism. That person will speak to this project. Mr. Chevary. Thank you, Your Worship and council members. Today we're presenting a memorandum of understanding for Ohio Place Development. It's a memorandum of understanding between the municipality of Shediac and Kapakadi for a PID that is between both municipal entities and municipalities, yes. After a request for a project, that memorandum of understanding will allow us to look at service delivery and the feasibility of shared services, and while observing the principle that it will not reduce existing service levels and that municipalities will be remunerated for providing services, it will also allow us to cooperate on an agreement that works for both municipalities, that's fair for both municipalities. And just to close, it's a memorandum of understanding. It's not an agreement per se. When the agreement will be more formalized, it will come back before council as per usual for the council's approval and to formalize the agreement. If I might add, this is a resolution on the part of both municipalities that we've done to officialize the MOU to lead to an agreement. The town of Kapakadi will do making the same resolution to sign the same agreement with us, so we can work on a clear mandate. We have a clear mandate to work on this project, on such a project. Councillor Germaine Godet, would you like to read it? Yes, Your Worship. Whereas the town of Shediac and the regional municipality of Kapakadi are exploring the possibility of jointly providing municipal services as a part of a development project located on a property bearing the PID 70698840 within the territory of both municipalities. Be it resolved that the two municipalities continue their discussions on the terms of service and financial arrangements relating to this development project with the aim of concluding a joint services agreement subject to the approval of both municipal councils. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Any questions, Councillor Paul Boudreau?
Je ne sais pas si le directeur est libre de nous dire s'il y a un échéancier, c'est quoi qui va se développer sur le terrain-là?
Difficile à dire ça.
No?
It's kind of hard to say, like, so maybe the next step, probably, like through the mayor, like it's a file that's a little bit complex, and there are several moving parts on this file, and but for the MOU, like it just starts those conversation. So for if we have to go see like local governance and the Department of Local Governments and anything else to check the boxes, so we'll be able to finish checking all the boxes. It's just to give like a deadline because because they have projects too in the private sector. So it's officialized, and so I cannot officialize exactly what it came out. Will it have an impact on the works that's supposed to be done on Ohio Road? No.
Yeah. No. Sur ce.
So on this note, all in favor signify saying aye.
No.
Against nay.
Adopté.
Carried. Thank you.
Numéro 15.7.
15.7, Pointe du Chêne Road Corporation. So Mr. Delicier, switch to English.
Councillor McEnroy, because he brought forward the initial motion on the possibility of the town of Shediac being in agreement of forming a roads corporation or a roads condominium style association to help pay some of the funds that would be needed to maintain various different roads under that corporation's management. So Councillor McEnroy worked closely with a lawyer from the town of Shediac to kind of analyze how much it would cost the municipality to help, or anybody to help defund or create and fund the creation of that corporation. There's an estimate that was provided by the lawyer that's been attached. Administration would recommend having an amount that's a bit more, that's not exceeding, because this may take it may take some time to create with a corporation. Those fees are never fixed; they may fluctuate. So these funds, we would look at taking them as a special project. Initially from the special project council fund, but long term, any fund derived from this would then be an expense from the taxing authority that it would be managed from. So this is strictly seen as help to establish that corporation for the management of those roads in the Pointe-du-Chien area, and have administration pay those potential bills when that corporation is such formed. So I don't know if Councillor McEnroy wants to add or.
Well, yeah, I'll certainly move the motion, but yeah, that's essentially where we are. Council will recall that it approved in principle financially supporting the establishment of that corporation and its ongoing funding for the maintenance of the roads, which will be as a raison d'etre, will be from property taxes paid within Ward 2 for the maintenance of the roads within Ward 2. And the town will act as the banker, more or less, in terms of reallocating the required funds from Pointe-du-Chien property taxes to fund the operations of the road corporation as it undertakes maintenance of the roads within the point. So yeah, this contribution is just to legally get that established and allow us to move forward. So with that, Mayor, I'll move that whereas the town of Shediac's Municipal Council approved in principle at its meeting on February 2nd, 2026, the granting of financial assistance to cover the costs associated with establishing a nonprofit road corporation for the community of Pointe-du-Chien, whereas Rene Cormier, a lawyer in Shediac, has collaborated with Ward 2 Councillor Harry McEnroy to obtain an estimate of the costs associated with the creation of said corporation. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council of the Town of Shediac, while collaborating on the development of the nonprofit road corporation, authorize the payment of costs associated with implementation presented to the Municipal Council without exceeding $15,000. So moved.
So moved by Councillor McEnroy, seconded by Councillor Patricia Book-Chabary. Questions?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're talking about the cost, like to create the corporation, but does it mean like, so the patent letters and all those items like with general regulation? So we will not only have like Councillor McElroy there that will be part of the corporation, so there will be other people. It's to create like the group for the
board of directors, and it's going to, okay, all right.
There's some legitimacy that council, that the administration wants to see before, you know, it can't just be singularly Councillor McEnroy saying, oh, I'm starting out on my own. It would have to be a group of residents that are showing an interest, that because if the group of residents do not want to form that corporation, we're not going to create it. It just authorizes that if there's a group of residents that wants to undertake and set up that corporation, that we have the mechanisms to help them financially to set it up and work on dispositions on how to adopt budgets and things of that nature, so we can proceed with allocating them funds once council approves.
That wanted to make sure that it was thank you.
It is still a council decision on the allocation of the budget, meaning, and I just want to use this as an example. If the group say we need $10,000 a year, but council said we think that's an exorbitant amount, we would only allow 5. Well, they would have to work with 5 because it is a council decision. But we think that the roads corporation would have to do some analysis to come up with that specific budgeted amount when it's presenting it to council on an annual basis at a specific time, so council can deliberate, debate, and also the public in that area can have a mechanism to know what that impact or that potential deviation of the tax rate that it can have based on the requested amount.
So after saying that, can I ask another question?
By all means.
Is the publishing being consulting?
The public?
Before the public, yeah.
Okay.
They will.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it this way. We will not disperse funds to Councillor McEnroy. It's an interest of. It's in an interest of having a group come forward that we can work with, an identified group of individuals. And then there would be mechanisms of creating public consultation with the residents of that area to create that corporation and generate interest. And then we would look at creating it, and then it would be, if the public so wants and council so wants.
Okay, I had my answer when you said public consultation, then
we see it's a vital component to any council decision, or prior to any council decision is made, that the public in that area are consulted on the matter.
Right.
Absolutely. I think it's important too to note that the Ms. Cormier recommended and has set out in her correspondence that the first step in the process be a memorandum of understanding between the Anglican Church, from whom we're acquiring the biggest chunk of roads initially, and the municipality in terms of what its involvement is going to be, and the corporation that gets established.
Outline who does what.
That kind of an understanding. So each party knows exactly what the expectations are in terms of what their role is going forward.
And that would be a kickoff.
Yeah.
Good. Conseiller Paul Boudreau.
Right, an excellent idea, Harry. Bravo. I didn't hear, Yves, what line of budget where the money come from?
So that would be considered a local service. It wouldn't be considered a shared service. So the taxing authority that would fund those operations would be the Pointe du Chien.
No, the $15,000.
Oh, it would be special projects.
Special project? Okay.
Council.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right. On that, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously carried. Thank you. Prochain point, j'ai pas de nomination au comité.
No appointments to committee, and our next meeting will be held on April 20th, 2026. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting from Councillor Germaine Galland. Thank you. And